What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday Night Hang, episode 62. Man, wow, 62. 62 episodes. Welcome to Tuesday Night Hang. It's 8 p.m. Yeah, right, 8 p.m. We're a little late, but there's a good reason we're late, because we have a cast of characters, and they were being characters. So we had a little hang prior to the hang. It was a pre-hang. So tonight's going to be a fun show. I said it every week, and I mean it, because I have friends and family and people from all different walks of life joining us, and this week is going to be no exception to the rule. However, these guys crack me up, and we have a lot of water under the bridge with these gentlemen. So be prepared for a fun show, as always. And that being said, let's say hello to my buddy in LaGrange, Illinois, Stephen Wright. What's up, Stephen?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
How you doing, huh?
How you doing?
What's happening over there? Anything?
No, man. We're just we got. I think everything has been running well so far. So
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell everybody. Steven's been what's the word I'm looking for? Actually, building basically from the ground up. He had a little deconstruction from the last system we used. We were having many gremlins, so he basically built a whole new system to stream as we are tonight. So I appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully it works good for us.
Yeah, it's we're gonna need a lot of bandwidth for these three.
Yeah, well, that and a lot of tequila. Yeah, man.
Man.
What's going on over there? You've been obviously building that whole system, and anything else?
Yeah, it's I think we got it all back together, but we'll do what we can, and everything seems to be going good so far. Chat is up and running. People are joining in already, saying hello and sharing the stream. So thank you guys for that, and we'll see what happens. How is the garden, man?
The garden is always great. Always fun. We were there Saturday. We left Sunday with a little snow on the ground, which is all good. But it's good to be back home again. Billy's in great spirits. The band's in wonderful spirits and playing great. And so things are well. We're happy to be back, and it's all good. So, I also like to thank Billy and the crew and everybody involved for helping me share out my. We did a little video, and man, I'm blown away that we had 33,000 people plus watch my tomfoolery. That's a very big word for a trumpet player, but I appreciate the love that's shown, and we're just trying to throw that tune out there. What a wonderful world, and appreciate everybody sharing it and commenting nice things. And if you don't have anything nice to say, I don't want to hear it. I'm kidding you. Horrible. I'm kidding you. But no, it's good. So good. We appreciate that. What else were we gonna hit? Because I know we have 3 guests that are coming on. I don't want to deviate too far from from having these guys on. I want to give them their due. But there was a couple of things we were going to hit. Next week we're taking off.
Yep.
Right. Where we did 2 weeks in a row. Last week we had Chainsaw Ricky LaPointe, who's Billy's guitar tech, and all the 61 episodes are up on YouTube. So if you guys want to check them out or are new to the channel, Steven has a thing here on the left side of your screen. It's basically it's a hang. So chat away, say hello, ask some questions, abuse us. We like the abuse. So that's the Fishhead Gallery. Yeah, get on that Fishhead Gallery.
Yeah, and we'll have time for Q&A throughout the night. So get your comments and questions in there, cool. And we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. But also you mentioned the Wonderful World video. I just wanted to thank everybody for the reception that they gave the video, and for all the shares and stuff. I think we're at like 34,000 views on so far. So
cool.
Pretty happy about that. So thank you guys for doing that and for sharing it. And yeah, man, these guys are already on a roll, Carl. So maybe we should turn the cameras on.
Oh, we have to bring them in. But before we get too silly and whimsical, I do want to dedicate the show. We're all talking. We're all brothers here tonight. We're going to have three of my favorite horn section players and soloists I ever played with in my life. I've had a wonderful opportunity to play with a lot of great musicians, and these are only three of them. No, these are three of them. No, these guys are my musical brothers and friends and my family. We have Ozzie Melendez, John Scarpulla, and Chris Karlic. And throughout the years, we've done multitude of gigs together. And we have so many mutual friends and family. Our families are friends and vice versa. But on a serious note, we all decided to dedicate tonight to positive vibes for our friend and singer Sandy Rhodes out in Las Vegas. He was one of your singers. He's done a lot of gigs, but one of the prominent singers with the Flugelhorn that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. So we wish Sandy Rhodes a speedy recovery. We love him and heal quickly. And there's another gentleman who is just a monster musician and just a great personality, the wonderful, great trumpet player, Don Harris. We wish him well and hope he heals quickly too. We love you guys, and we just hope everybody for a speedy recovery. And this hang is for you guys. So that being said, think positive things for our friends. That being said, talking about positivity, the first guy I'm bringing in here, it was brought to my attention from my first trumpet teacher, Mr. Vin Syncramati. Vin was my first trumpet teacher in '82, I believe. My first trumpet teacher other than my dad. And he says, I want you to come. And Ozzie might not remember the story, but I remember Vinny telling me this many times. And he's like, I want you to come. Part of your lesson is to come to a showcase. Which, if you're not familiar with, we have a lot of guys who are not musicians and girls who are not musicians. Showcases, especially in the New York metropolitan area, were like wedding band showcases where people would want to go out and see different bands if they're going to book a party or a wedding. So I go to the showcase, and Vinny's like, hey, one of my best friends is playing trombone, and the band was Rick Mango, and this guy comes out and plays trombone. And the two of these guys together, Vinny and Ozzie, I met Ozzie very quickly. I don't know if Ozzie remembers this. I was a young kid. And man, not only did both of them played like one player. It was amazing how they blended. And the vibe I caught from Ozzie then, I just was like, man, this guy is just a positive dude, just like Vinny is. And so that was the first time I met Ozzie. And then fast forward it maybe a year or two later, and I think 1984, I was still studying with Vinny. He's like, hey, we're going to do our first Funk Philharmonic gig in '84. And Ozzie and Lee Finkelstein are the leaders, and Ozzie's writing a whole bunch of horn charts. And one of my lessons was, hey, come to, I was underage. Vinny snuck me in, and there I am checking out Ozzie and Lee Finkelstein and all these Long Island greats, the first Funk Philharmonic gig. So that goes back close to 38 years. In the 38 years, I've never seen this guy negative or down. On and off the bandstand, he's a force to be reckoned with, not just on trombone, but the way he arranges and writes. He's also a wonderful singer. He's currently and been with Mark Anthony for close to 20 years, if not over 20 years now. If I was to go through everybody's resume, these guys wouldn't be on. It would be I'd be here for about 2 hours. You name it. Obviously, Diana Ross. There's a little connection tonight. All three of the horn players, including myself, we're all got to play with Diana Ross. We got to tour a whole bunch with that, so that was fun. But Ozzie plays with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and he's a founding member of Funk Philharmonic. He's also has a new project I'd like for him to talk about called A-Tempo, which is a wonderful project. It's killing. Got to check that out on YouTube. Anyway, I could go on, but let's welcome and say hello to my friend Ozzie Melendez. What's up, Oz?
What's up, Carly? Wow, that was pretty damn good.
You owe me money. How much money you got?
$5 for sure.
A little sandwich.
Could you see us? Could you see us when we were muted? Like, could you see what we were doing?
Oh, yeah. That's why I had to get you on. You were killing me.
We were trying to make you laugh, but you were so good. You were focused. You did everything to try and crack you up.
It's
Anyway,
close.
thank you, man. Hey, this show is unbelievable. A1, the way it looks, it's amazing. Congratulations to you and to Steven. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we like A1 sauce. It goes good on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really good with chicken and steak. Chicken at Leonard's. See, we took it left immediately.
Dude, we've never had a serious conversation. I don't know how we're gonna do it tonight.
I know, bro. I know. The first thing, actually, the last thing I left off with. Let's just go back really quick, and I want to hit with the latest project you've been putting out is A Tempo, correct?
A tempo, yeah.
A Tempo. Excuse me. I'm stupid.
Well, yeah.
You know who I am. Tell me about that project because it's a wonderful band, man. I love everything you're doing.
Thank you. Well, it happened during the pandemic. As a lot of people did, they had nothing else to do. So they were thinking of ways to keep themselves busy, so on and so forth. We had always had this vision, especially the bass player in Mark Anthony's band, Urban Perez, always had this vision of having a band within the band because there's so many great players in Mark's band. And there's, I think, 14 or 15 of us up there.
Wow.
So during the pandemic, he decided, hey, man, let's send files back and forth to each other. And make a long story short, we did a song by U2, With or Without You. And we did it salsa.
Yeah.
And we had the background singer, Franklin Torres, sing it. And I did the horn arrangements, which I never did a salsa horn arrangement in my life. I was always afraid because of the clave and all that stuff you have to be careful of. And so, but I just said, I sunk my teeth into it and it came out really good. And so we decided to keep going. And we started putting it out there. And a lot of Mark's fans and other fans started coming on and really digging what we were doing. And so we're going to keep it going. Alexandra Taveras is the other singer in the band. Wonderful. She's the one that came up with the name A Tempo. And I guess to make a long story short, the A Tempo means, we know what it means, but for the people out there, it means like to go to the original tempo.
Yeah.
And so I guess the way you can describe it is like, for example, Bohemian Rhapsody, it starts out slow, then it goes fast. And so if you were reading the music somewhere along the line, when it goes back to the ballad form, it's going to say A Tempo, go back to the original. So she was thinking, wow, we were going really good before the pandemic. And it's kind of opposite Bohemian Rhapsody. We were going really good before the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit and we slowed down. And we knew eventually we were going to have to go back to A Tempo. And so that's the meaning of that.
Wow. Beautiful. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Yeah. No,
Thank you.
It's a killer band. And Alexander, everybody just is killing. And if maybe we could post a link, Steven, up to the YouTube. Right, it's all over YouTube, if I believe, right?
On YouTube, we actually were able to do 4 videos. We've recorded 8 or 9 songs already, and with a lot of help from the other guys in Mark's band as well.
Cool. So maybe we'll post a link. Steven, if you find it. If not, Ozzie, send it to Steven. We'll have it. If not here on the chat, we'll have it somehow through our YouTube thing if you guys want to check it out, because you guys got to check it out. So and YouTube is free. It's amazing, right?
It's free. We would hope that some people would subscribe. We're trying to get subscribers to it, and in the hopes that eventually, if Mark ever wants to slow down or he wants to take a break or he gets a movie,
yep,
that we can continue working with the A Tempo project. That's kind of what we're hoping for.
Beautiful, man. Well, cool. Well, thanks for.
And I don't remember remember I told you I'm not going to remember anything. I don't remember the when you came to Rick Mango. I do remember when you came to the funk band, because I remember Vinny introducing me to you.
Yeah, 84, I think it was. I think it was 84, 85.
It was 84, yeah.
Yeah.
John's not on.
Yeah,
He's going to write it down.
Yeah, whatever it was is a long freaking time ago. But you and Vinny still to this day played unbelievable together. And
thank you.
Yeah. No, it was being a little younger, I was always looked up to you guys, because not only were you guys great section players, when you stepped out too, you could blow, which a lot of guys, especially in the smaller horn sections, you look back into the the end of the 70s and the 60s, everything was big band. But when I was growing up in the mid 80s, it was a lot of smaller horn sections. So everybody had to have double duty or triple duty. And what was amazing is you guys always pull it off, which is cool, whether it be a wedding gig or a funk gig or whatever it was always worth checking out. So.
Well, we grew up listening to what? We grew up listening to Jerry Hay. We had the Tower of Power stuff. We had a lot of the great horn bands of the 70s.
Yep.
That we had to emulate, because a lot of those songs became hits. And so when we were doing weddings back then, we had to play those horn lines. And so we would hear the way Earth, Wind, and Fire would play the horn stuff, and we would hear how Jerry Hay would play it.
Yeah.
And so we would try and emulate that. And so that was kind of our schooling, just listening to that style of music. And for me, Chicago, of course, you know,
Sure.
with Pankow, that was
Being
my
a trombone head, yeah, having that the phrasing of James Pankow. For the people who are not familiar with Pankow, not musicians, the trombonist with Chicago, go check him out. Any Chicago recording, he's almost playing lead trumpet from the trombone chair.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everybody kind of circles around him the way he phrases everything, and it's a school in itself. And Ozzie, I'm not trying to, you know, grease you up, but Ozzie's the new
grease me, baby.
Yeah, it's the truth, man. I mean, you know, even when I'm playing in a session, it's funny. I'll take on a lot of your characteristics, the way you phrase things. So, and you're very cool too. You're great with playing with other players too. But the way you make things swing or articulate things is very important. And I think a lot of section players and soloists are not hip to that. So,
funny, on my Instagram, I've been trying to grow my Instagram followers because I'm really late to the table on that. And so what they tell you is to keep posting things, and when people start to like it and they start following, that's what you kind of zero in on. Like if you put up a picture of yourself, you get 2 likes, or you put up something of you playing and you get 15 likes, then you know, okay, that's what the people like. Sure. So lately I've been putting up stuff on my Instagram of playing like Chicago, because a lot of the kids that look up to me in Latin America have never heard that stuff. Never. They only know me from playing with Willie or playing with Mark.
Yeah.
And really so cool. They're always asking me, how do you have that phrasing? And so I've been putting that up and showing them, this is where I'm getting that from. I'm getting it from Pankow, and I'm bringing that over to the Latin music. And so a lot of people are going, wow, we never checked in. So it's pretty cool how that's happening, you know.
Yeah, we're just copycats, but in our own way, you know. Yeah, and that's the best emulation, duplication. It's a form of flattery. Yeah. You take it and then you kind of change it and try to make it your own, but you have to be able to duplicate it first to be able to. But you've taken it to the next level, which is very cool, bro. I really dig it.
And speaking of taking things to the next level, you as a soloist are like, you know, forget about it. You've taken whatever you're saying about me and Vinny, you've taken it to 1,000 times further. And I know that all your fans and followers know that already. I don't have to tell them that, but.
Oh, thanks, Oz. Smoke and mirrors, baby. Oh, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so man. we're gonna get the rest of the hang happening here, and the next guy, you know. So my introduction to Ozzie was, you know, through a friend of mine. Next thing I know, I moved back to New York. I want to say late 90, 91, and I go. You know, I missed the funk band for 4 or 5 years. You guys were already playing at the Broker Ridge Funk Philharmonic. I go one night and I see this new baritone sax player in the section. I'm like, oh man. A friend of mine says, yeah, you got to check out this guy John. So originally, I think it was Paul Kendall was playing baritone saxophone, if I remember right?
Yeah.
The funk band. Who was actually I used to play with at Sonny's Place. This is going back in the mid '80s too. So, and Alex Stewart was playing tenor. But so I come back into town. And this guy's playing Barry one week, and he's sounding great. Didn't get to meet him, but I really, you know, was impressed. And then shortly after that, I think Alex subbed out, and I heard him play tenor, and I was totally blown away. And we hung that night and drank a couple things and ate like 10 cheeseburgers across at the diner. And since then, we've been all, you know, buddies from 1991. He's done a plethora again of a million gigs. You know, Tower of Power. Many years with Tower of Power, Huey Lewis and the News. You know, he's still currently very involved and one of Miss Diana Ross's favorite soloists of probably the last 2 decades. She hasn't really had many soloists in her band, and John is very prominent on that gig. And John and Ozzie were responsible for Chris and I getting on Miss Ross's gig also, but John is still doing Miss Ross, as well as a million different symphony orchestras around the country with you name it, he plays with them. Also arranging. The guy is arranged for again, I could go nuts. I could go for hours on this. He was on the show before and we hung with him. He's got 2 beautiful children that are very musically inclined and a gorgeous wife. And you know, we're being tame right now. It's going to come out left. When he comes, it's going to be crazy. But let's say hello to John Scarpulla.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Perfect.
We're not distant enough. I thought maybe I'd put a mask on.
I smell like bologna.
I'm gonna go brush my tooth.
Hey, take care of the bologna tooth.
Baggletooth.
Yeah.
That's my wife's sense of humor, by the way. She got me this to wear
Really?
to gigs. Yeah, so I got my money's worth out of that one.
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Doing good, brother. Good to hear. I love hearing all that stuff. I love that you brought Ozzie on that way, bro. It's really beautiful. Just
How
very
do
nice.
you first meet Ozzie? Tell me about you meeting Ozzie.
So I'm just going to correct you on a few things because before we started this, I sent Lee Finkelstein, founding member as well of Funk Band. I asked him, when did I first get in the funk band?
Because none of us know.
No, because I didn't know. So he sent it to me. So for me, it was 1989 at New York Avenue. And it was that
was in Huntington, right? That was the Huntington place?
October 17th, 1989. And the band's first gig was 1985, Funksgiving, November 20th, 1985.
85. Wow.
So that's, if you saw them, that's when you saw them. So
it was
just
37 years. Wow.
A little trivia there.
Wow. Well, actually, it's funny because I used to do Thanksgiving with Vinny's family. Our families would get together.
Oh,
and
wow.
so that's how it came up. Yeah, every Thanksgiving we'd spend together. You know, so and that's I remember him leaving early to go to and taking me to the gig. So it was 85. So you were 89 in Huntington at New York Avenue. Remember that club? That was a fun club.
I do remember that club. The sound was always rough.
We got in a lot of trouble in that club.
It was like a brick
Every
walls, tin ceiling, cement floor, and yeah, are we going to that place? He's unbuttoning his
just
shirt.
think about the stuff we did, bro.
Let's wait another 40 minutes before we go down that road.
yeah.
Between New York Avenue and the brokerage, there was a lot of hell raising.
We had a lot of
To
fun.
keep
there.
it clean. I met Ozzie. You were playing in a club in Amityville with, it was you, Ron, and Vinny, and my friend and Lenny LaPinta said, "You got to hear these guys, man. You got to hear this band." And I don't know what band it was. You were playing with. I don't even remember what band it was. You got to hear these guys, and they're in the band, the Funk Philharmonic.
The club might have been the name of the club might have been Dakota Rose.
It was Dakota Rose. That was it.
So maybe we were sitting in with the Mudmen, or
bro. That's what it was. It was the Mudmen.
The Mudmen. Okay.
That's what it was. But I met you guys that night, and then for some reason, bro, I stumbled on the Funk Band. My brother Frank and his wife lived out in Setauket, and I was driving out to their house on a Thursday night, and I drove past there was the dining car 1890 on like 25A and 347 in what is that, Stony Brook? And there was a giant sign that said, live 12-piece band tonight, Funk Philharmonic. So I went to my brother's, I ate some pizza, I hung out, and I was like, I'm gonna split. I want to go hear this band. And you guys were like set up in some train car, like it was this crazy gig. And I went up at the end of the gig and I said hello to, and it was Alex. It was a different baritone sax player. It was like Eric Turkel.
Okay.
And I gave my card to Alex, and I was like, man, the band sounds great. I just graduated Berkeley. I'm back in town, and you guys ever need a player? I never thought I would get the call, but then I'm looking at the gig. It was like bing, bing, bing. It was like a month later. I met you guys. I'm looking at the schedule Lee sent me. Like a month later, Rich Ebler called me and said, we're at New York Avenue. We're trying to do our sound check. We don't have a Barry player. Can you come to the, can you come do the sound check with us? And I would think I was living at my parents' house in Northport. Showed up, did the sound check, and then at the end of the sound check, Ebler walked up to me and goes, "You want to join the band?" And that was it. I got the gig.
You did that gig without checking the music out beforehand?
I was in a Tower Power,
okay.
It was a Tower Power ensemble at Berkeley, and I played baritone and tenor in that. So like I kind of knew, I knew a handful of the tunes. Yeah, and I just came out and did the thing, and you guys offered me the gig. But then Carl, it was a couple of years, I think, before Alex, the other sax player, Al Stewart.
Sure.
I think he just didn't. I don't really know. I can't tell you because I wasn't in his head. But he was just. I think the tenor chair is the heat. Like that's the chair.
Yeah.
it's all tenor solos, and it's like all night long, and you can't just show up and dial it in. You got to come and play the gig.
Yeah.
And I think he just wanted to play baritone. He was just like, and I'm not to say that the baritone chair was an easy chair, because it's not. Everything is exposed.
Well. Yeah.
It's the hardest shit to play.
Yeah.
But he just didn't want to be under that pressure, I think. So he was like, you want to switch? And I was like, fuck yeah. Oh,
that's all right.
See, I knew I would be the first one to open his mouth.
He's the one that switched it up.
He's the one that wanted to switch.
Okay.
And
I remember he was teaching a lot too. I don't know if he was at CW Post at that point.
Yeah.
But I know he left Post and actually was in one of his reading bands.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. It was probably around that same time, and he was very into the and still is. Right. He went to New Hampshire and is at.
I think he's in Vermont University of Vermont at Burlington.
Burlington. There you. Same thing. They're close. Snowy, Sorry, Alex. So that's
He's
how that
not
happened.
Listening.
Yeah.
He might be.
He might be.
He likes one of us.
I thought you guys were switching off like every other month. No, didn't that happen for a while?
Bro, it might be. You might be right. I don't remember.
I think that was it. I remember every
You
time,
guys were
every other
switching
gig.
on and off. And what happened was you had smoked the chair so much because that was more your bag. Alex is a great musician, but his bag was more jazz.
Right.
So when you came in there and you started playing the funk and the kind of Lenny Pickett-ish kind of stuff, you kind of brought that style to where it was supposed to be. And I think that's what happened. He knew it. Everybody knew it. Everybody was like, okay, I think it should stay this way.
Right.
So, but I think you guys were going back and forth, if I remember correctly.
You might be right, bro. I swear I don't remember. That's one of those things.
There's a reason why you don't remember.
Oh my God.
We had
Crazy.
a lot of fun.
Bro, so I was just with Diana Ross. It's our first gig back since the pandemic.
Yeah,
and
tell us about it. What do you got?
Well, she's been planning, how'd it go?
You ask about me?
She's been planning, for like 6 months, trying to like, how are we gonna get back to working? And she's 77, she's gonna be 78, so she's pretty concerned about COVID. She was really concerned we were on tour when she had to pull the plug, and she was concerned about getting sick herself, but she was really concerned about any one of us getting sick while we were out there. And then of course we're on a tour bus, so there's 12 people on a bus, one gets sick, basically everybody gets sick. So she was just trying to find her way out of like, how are we going to get back to going on the road? So she's kind of testing the waters, doing a couple of one outs. So with like, we did Universal in Orlando. Then we're playing the kind of tail end of Mardi Gras in New Orleans, which should be pretty crazy.
Nice.
And then we got another date in Austin coming up in it's next month. So like a little bit of testing the waters, but then there's a huge amount of gigs in the UK and Europe, and we're hoping she signs off on those. But Orlando was packed, and so it's Florida. No mandates. The club, the Universal just dropped that day. They said you don't have to wear a mask in the in the park anymore. And so it was just a bunch of people hanging out shoulder to shoulder, listening to music. It was 85 degrees, beautiful weather, and we had a ball. And there was a horn section. So it was like, now we haven't had a full horn section in like almost 7 years. We've done a few dates, like Ozzie. We did that. We played Radio City with her. I don't know, 4 years ago.
Maybe longer, maybe 5.
Maybe 5 years ago we had a horn section, but that was like a one out. But her plan this year is to go back out with the horns. So awesome. We had Brad Mason on trumpet, and Mark Miller playing trombone, and then a cat from Vegas who plays with Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns, Eric. I was going to call him Eric Turkel. Eric T.Ị., playing baritone with us. So awesome. 4-piece. We rehearsed all week. Nice. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, had Friday off, abused ourselves just a little bit, and then did the gig Saturday, came home to snow in New York. So here we are, baby.
Oh, good, man. I'm glad.
It's funny. That's the last time us four have played together. I think us four have played together as a unit, us four. And I'm talking about also who you're about to bring on as well.
Chris Karlick, yeah.
And we have some stories. I don't have a great memory, but there's a couple of stories of us with the Diana Ross if we have time.
I know which ones they are.
One is the great one is with you.
Oh, bro. I just told that story again this weekend because it's just too funny, man.
Oh,
I know you're a better storyteller. Maybe you should tell it. Anyway,
Oh, no, I don't. You're talking about the
yes.
walking out.
yes.
And I know you have a lot about me with Miss Ross. So
That wasn't me. That was the other guy.
Well, no, but
It happened to all of us though at one time.
No, but it happened to Trevor
Yeah.
the first time. All right,
Yeah.
so can
But
I
it
tell
happened
it?
to all of us at one time. It's it's kind of, but yeah, so we'll have to save because we
All
got to
right.
bring our boy in. And then actually, what we're gonna do because we've been already rapping for so long, we're gonna play a little video of us with our shenanigans.
Oh
but,
God.
But yeah, the last time this foursome has played together and hung together it's got to be 7 years ago with
Right.
Miss Ross. And so this guy came to me, man. I was living in Brooklyn, and my buddy owned the building, Vinny. Him and his father owned the building. It was over an Italian deli. And I was, I grew up with Vinny in Long Island, and Vinny's like, hey, man, this, they loved musicians, but they were just really good people. And it's like, this is a guy from Ohio moving in. They couldn't figure it out. I still laugh at this. He goes, he plays saxophone, but he's bringing a freaking 9-foot piano. And he's bringing this piano into this building. And I think at that time, I don't know, Chris will tell us, he was either on the fourth or third or fourth floor. I'm like, how the hell are we going to bring a 9 Steinway up a freaking 4 floors, I'm like, is he a tenor player? What does he play? And they couldn't figure it out. So I walk into the deli one day, and I hear this freaking boom truck outside, and it's a freaking a piano swinging over the sidewalk. And there's Chris, and he's got a baritone sax case on his back. And I knew he was coming from Ohio, and we had some mutual friends. I think a lot of the North Texas State guys knew of Chris, which is a great music school. I think Chris went there. He'll tell me about it. But I knew his name, but all of a sudden, man, I had this, I'm like, man, what do you play? He goes, well, I have a piano, but I'm a saxophone player. That started a really great kinship with this guy, and man, I'd hear him shedding, and I'd feel bad that I wasn't shedding like Chris was.
Shedding is practicing for all you non-musicians.
Young people. Yeah, he'd be practicing.
Who would shed?
Yeah, I would feel like, oh my God, he's shedding hard stuff. And then really I would get pissed off because then I'd hear him play piano. I'm like, oh man, he's got that together too. He's got his harmony together. So we became really fast friends, and there's a lot of stories about that. He helped me practice. We would practice together, and just wonderful times. And I was having a problem at that time. I was getting a lot of calls to play lead trumpet. Now my reading wasn't 100%. It was never 100%. No, nothing's ever 100%. But I remember Chris would throw books, and we'd play through books. We'd play through tunes. We'd always play through tunes. It was just a great thing. And I remember telling Chris, hey, my friends are playing with the Funk Philharmonic. This is funk band in Long Island. You might want to go check it out, blah, blah, blah. And at that time, I was subbing quite a bit for Ron Fox, who was the lead trumpet player, and Vinny, who was my trumpet teacher. So, the whole thing just kind of clicked, and I'm going to leave that story for Chris. But not only is Chris just one of I would say, the most prominent baritone sax players of our time. He's played with Freddie Hubbard, a lot of time with Freddie Hubbard, pop icon John Mayer. Obviously Miss Ross. There's a slew of other great musicians. Was many gigs at the Village Vanguard with the Vanguard Band. Just a consummate musician. For as bad as musician as he is, bad meaning good, the guy is also he's one of those guys that anything he touches is pretty special. So I believe when we were getting off the road with Ms. Ross, Chris got his master's in social work from NYU, and became a psychotherapist, and now is in residency at the University of Rochester in New York. Up in New York, in Rochester, where it's really cold. And he also has his own private practice up there. His credentials are amazing. He's a licensed clinical social worker. As a trumpet player, I can't say that word 4 times. If I do, I have to have at least 10 more drinks. Maybe you can help me with that, Chris. But anything he does, right, guys? You can attest to this. This guy is just one of the baddest, coolest guys that I know. So let's say hello to, last but not least, Miss Chris Karlick.
What's up, Thanks for the intro, Carl. That was awesome. Man, it's the first time you and I met actually was in Cleveland because
The
I don't know if
Bop
you
Stop
remember this.
or Night Town?
Exactly right.
Oh,
Exactly
yeah.
right.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm living in Northeast Ohio. I'm doing all these gigs in Cleveland. There's this great club called the Bop Stop on the east side of Cleveland. And I think you were coming through with Maynard.
Okay.
And you guys had a gig or you had an off night. You came by to sit in and hang. And that was the first time you and I met, actually.
That's right. Now it comes back.
And I don't know if Phil Palombi was there sitting in too, but I know you guys were on the road together at the same time.
Yes,
and
sir.
I knew Phil from playing gigs up in Northeast Ohio, which
Oh.
goes into that story about how I found the apartment building in Greenpoint, because I had decided, okay, let me give this New York thing a shot. It'll either work out or I'll fall flat on my face. I don't care, but I need to see what's going on. So I call Phil. I says, hey, do you know of any places in the city, any vacancies? I know it's hard to find an apartment. And he says, there might be one in my building. Let me talk to Frank.
Yeah.
So I think he talked to Frank, but I guess Frank asked you too, what's going on with this guy, right?
Yeah.
So I went and I looked at the place and I'm like, great. It was a little shell shock because it was, a little 2-bedroom railroad, but it was perfect.
Sure.
And I said, I have a piano. And Frank says, well, yeah, is it going to fit in here? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem.
It was a 9-foot, right? That was right. It was a full 9.
We get out the tape measure, we're measuring the stairwell. We're doing all this stuff, right? With Frank. I said, okay, no worries. I'll get a double crew, right? Piano moving crews, 3 guys. I said, I'll get 6 guys. It shouldn't be a problem. So I'm in Cleveland. I'm literally on a gig. All my stuff's getting moved to New York, and the piano movers show up with the piano and they start trying to get it up the stairwell. And the stairwell's got like half a dozen steps, and then it makes a left turn, 90-degree left. And the piano movers couldn't make the turn. They tried like 400 times. One of the guys quit, and Frank, I'm on a gig. Frank's calling me up. He's like, your piano's not fitting. I said, that's impossible. We measured it. He's like, it's not going up. I said, okay, can you tell the guys to like, whatever, disassemble it, do whatever, right? It's got to get in there, right? This piano it comes with me. So he says, okay, call me back in half an hour. I called him back. He says, nope, it's not going in. Another guy quit. So the guys are on the sidewalk. Your piano is sitting on the sidewalk. What do you want me to do?
That's why I walked in.
I'm on a gig and he's like saying my piano's on the sidewalk. What do you want me to do? And I'm freaking out. I said, I have no idea. He says, oh, you know what? There's this one of my customers in the deli has a hoisting truck.
Bay Crane hoisted it, which is now, remember they were baiting out in our backyard.
Yeah. He says, let me call this guy, see if he's around and see if we can put it through the window. He says, call me back in 45 minutes. So I called him back. He says, okay, we measured it. The crane guy says he'll do it, but he wants to know if you're good for the bread. I'm like, seriously? I'm good for the bread. Just put the piano in the building. He says, okay, call me back. He says, okay, call me back in half an hour. So the gig is done. I call him back. They had to take out the window. They hoisted it up. They put the piano, set it up, and they were gone. It was the most stressful thing I've ever had.
What floor was that, Karlic? Was 3rd or 4th floor?
No, just 2nd floor, but still,
I was on the 4th floor. That's right. I was over you. And I actually renovated your apartment, and I guess I didn't do a good enough job. I was slapping paint on it because we had another guy before you come in he was a North Texas State guy, and you went to North Texas State, correct? Yep. So for a lot of the students, there's still it's a wonderful school. A lot of great horn players come out of there, Chris being one of them. But what was funny was, since Phil Palombi, he was my roommate, wonderful bass player, still is, plays with everybody. There's always like a clique, especially in Brooklyn at the time. You can attest to this, Chris. There was a lot of like guys getting out of college wanting to move to New York, University of Miami, North Texas, Berkeley guys. They would all go to Brooklyn, and everybody who was in that building was like, yeah, man, we need this guy in the building. So we had a couple guys. I renovated the apartment that came in, and they didn't last. And, you know, remember that? And I think you knew them. They would last like a month and freak out because Brooklyn was, where we were at that time, wasn't really a cool area. Now it's great, but
yeah.
You know.
And I remember those days where you and I would shed up in your apartment. We'd play like Tom Harrell records, like Aerosols stuff, and just shed. It was a blast, man.
Yeah, we had good times.
It was awesome. And then you would tell me, like you were saying, you were like, yeah, there's this band, Funk Philharmonic. You should really hook up with those guys. And I'm like, man, I haven't been in town. I'm not going to just show up to a gig. You know, like I thought it was, you know, overstepping. You know, I'm new cat in town. I'm not going to just show up and say, hey, I need to play on your band. Like, who does that, right? And then I got a call out of the blue from Scarpulla asking me if I could sub on the baritone chair, right? And it was at the brokerage.
Yep.
And he says, okay, show up at this time. I'll go over the book with you. We'll sit down. I'll walk you through the charts and you'll sub on the gig. So I showed up like 4 hours early.
I remember you going out there because you had your Volvo and you were like worried about traffic, right?
Volvo.
Sorry.
So I'm at the club. It's just me and the bartender. So I'm sitting there like an idiot, you know, waiting for hours and hours and hours. I was really nervous, you know, because I knew the band was great. I'd never heard them, but I knew they were great. And John shows up and we sit down and we're going through the charts. And John's really good. Like his manuscript is great. The charts were always clear. And he's really good at explaining all the charts. And we're going through and he's like, okay, here we go here, here we go there. Then there's a repeat and repeat. And I would hear him and I would hear him. And I'm looking at my chart and it looks like it's in the key of the recording. And I'm like, is it like the record? He says, yeah. I said, okay, next. And then we would do the next chart. And he said, here, 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 we start here, an intro, and then we, yeah, you know, and there's tenor solo. I said, is it like the record? He says, yeah. I said, okay, next.
No, you knew the music.
He probably thought I was a complete jerk, right? But I had been listening to Tower for so many years. Did you say yes? Did you say yes?
No, I said I still do.
You're right about that.
Sorry.
So I don't know what he's thinking at this point, but you know, it's funny. I played in the Tower Power cover band in Cleveland for a long time too, right? So I was playing all this stuff and listening to all the records. And so I got up there and, you know, the brokerage, you know, the lighting is dicey and the pages, you know, plastic pages, their lights are glaring. You can't really see the charts, you know. And on all the tunes that we played, that were right off the record, I didn't even read the book. And the guys were looking over at me like, why isn't he turning the page? Because I already knew the tunes.
Yep.
And there was some stuff I wasn't, you know, I didn't know like the EWF stuff, you know, medleys and stuff like that. But it felt so great to play with you guys the first time. And then, you know, me and Tommy standing together, the two, you know, bald-headed wonders. And the band was killing, and it was like I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, how did I end up here?
Yep.
But
you killed it too, man. You were, Jesus, I miss having you there even till today.
Yep.
I miss it too. I miss it too.
We miss you, bro. We definitely miss you.
Man.
Come back, please. No, I'm like it.
I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about like, of all the iterations of horn sections that I played with, this one, us four right here, is my favorite.
Wow.
It's for all the, like, for the pop, funk, R&B, like 4-piece horn section stuff. This is the one.
Oh,
Mine too.
Man.
Mine
That's
too.
sweet, brother.
This is the one. It's not even a contest.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not even a contest. The first day that Carl came into the section, there it is. First day that Carl comes into the section after the previous trumpet player, you know, nothing needed to be said. Nothing needed to be discussed. Everything was where it was supposed to be at the appropriate everything. And we could all relax and just play like we do with that ESP thing. And I could not believe it. I'm like, okay, this is right. This is what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's the truth, bro.
Well, thanks, man. You know, I was, like I said, when I was younger, hearing Ozzie and Vinny and then John joining the band and then hanging and playing with you, and I say this and we all hang out with a lot of students and young people, and I say this, it's the your relationships and people you play with that you gain respect for throughout the years, and you know what they're capable of, and friendships, just friendships and relationships, and all four of us always had a vibe, along with Vinny and and Ron Fox, and obviously I don't want to leave out the Finkelsteins, Lee and Steve, and Tommy Bowes and Greg Schleich, and Jack Knight and Dave Lavender. Unbelievable band. Schleiky. I spoke to Schleich last week for the first time in like 5 years, man. It was water under the bridge. It was like he's doing well. I'm sure you guys know that.
Well, hopefully we're going to try and do something eventually with the funk, because we skipped our 35th year, the Funksgiving, our 35th year reunion. We missed that. And I think we missed the 36th as well, right? We're up to the 37th now, right?
Well, it would be if we did the last two.
You're right. So we're going to have to do a big bang. I know that Sandy, he's getting healthy again. We talked about Sandy, that we're dedicating part of the show to him. Yep. And he's getting healthy again. And so one of his dreams is to fly back out here and do a show with us. And so it'd be nice if you also came, Carl, and Karlic. If we can get the whole crew, and the more the merrier, man. Have some kind of a big shebang, yuck it up and play some music.
Bro, do like what Tower did, man. When they at the 45th year, they were like, all right, we better bring back these guys before they kick the bucket. Let's do one now, That'd be cool. That's actually a great idea, Oz.
That sounds great. That being said, I know we have a whole bunch of comments, and Steve's been hanging out. But before we get to the comments, let's all take a break. Hey, Steven, can you show everybody the fun that we have with the video that we're talking about, and maybe we can come back with some questions. This is kind of fun. I don't know if can we hear? I know the
public,
the chat will be able to see it. Everybody who's watching, but I don't think we can hear it. Can we?
No, I won't be able to route the audio back to you guys, unfortunately.
That's right.
We know it. I'm out of here.
Yeah, we know the music.
While I'm pulling that up, you guys have mentioned Lee a couple times. Lee's hanging out in the chat.
Lee, brother Lee.
Yep.
Where is
he commented a couple times about how you guys did switch off Tenor and Barry when you were telling that story.
Cool.
So,
thanks, Oz.
But yeah, let me pull that up. Now, just so you guys know, this was actually cell phone footage, so the sound quality and video quality is not great. It's literally a phone laying on the floor.
I know what this is.
I know what this is.
Great.
Sound check.
Chris, woo!
All right.
This was
Here we
sound
go.
check, and we're all standing over it.
Yep. Here we go.
Where'd you get this?
Oh man, I remember.
You can see it, but not hear it.
Like mile 4 Home Can they hear us? Can they hear us? How many?
Yeah.
They can? Oh, you got the best part of this too. It's hard to blow looking down back there.
I was trying not to smash into everybody.
I was saying a little side note. This was the watching the inputs.
I wish I could do that. The audio wasn't that bad. I remember. Cell phone, but the audio was see Chris.
No.
And we're black.
Yes.
No,
Hey,
you're
You
not.
guys are back.
Hey,
Wow.
You're beige.
hey, were we could you hear us talking over the video, or did you mute us, Steven?
I only at the beginning. I was able to mute you guys about halfway through.
Well, actually, because we'd like to talk about some of these. John and I were talking about they had 2 days to come up with 36 arrangements.
Oh, it's
prior to
12.
going out. What's that? 12?
We had like 12 days.
12
You know, when
days.
they finally decided, you know, when the powers that be, when she decided she wanted the horn section and strings and the whole thing, and now they came to the conclusion that they didn't actually have arrangements for the 9 new musicians that they were going to add to the show. They reached out to me, and you know, in a panic, I called Ozzie, like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, just come to my house and we'll do it. And I'm like, you know, I was like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. But we set up at Ozzie's house. He was in the studio, I was like outside the studio, and we just had 2 stations going at the same time. He was working on his computer, I was working on mine, and we were just loading them into, some of them are in, well, most of them were in Sibelius, which is notation software. Ozzie, you had some in what was in Finale, because I still have some of those and I can't open them because I don't have Finale. But we had 12 days, 11 and a half days to write like 36 arrangements. There were a whole bunch of other. We didn't know that some of the songs were going to be medleyed. Nobody told us that. And we didn't know that 8 or 9 of them, that there were different keys. So like we got to the first rehearsal, we put our charts out all proud that we finished them all and that they counted the tune off, and we were playing the song up a step from the rest of the band because nobody told us they had moved it down a step. So you remember, even when we were in LA, like rehearsing, we would go back, we were running the other room while the rhythm section was rehearsing and rewrite and medley and fix and reprint and then go back in to play them again. It was nuts. And then we'd go back to the hotel that night and work on them more.
I'd say, great. John, there's a spot here. I think I want to write horn parts for this. You go ahead. Like, what if she doesn't like it? No, well, if she doesn't like it, we'll test it. We play it. She goes, yeah, I like it.
And she liked all of it.
Every bit of it. Not
every bit of it.
She cut.
Every bit of nothing. Yeah, you're right. Nothing.
She cut us. Anyway.
Nice to see you. Got 4 years out of it, and that was done.
Sounds great. See you in 7 years.
No, but it was. I have to say, and Chris, you could kind of talk about this too. What was, if you looked at like the Central Park concerts with the iconic concert with Ms. Ross doing with the bigger orchestra and a horn section, it was very, very well written and very cool. But when John and Ozzie got the gig, they put the meat and potatoes and the sauce on it, what Ozzie's talking about. And Chris is the king of the sauce too. Chris comes out with his own sauce. He just comes out with some licks that are like, oh wow. So what was amazing was we all kind of when you guys arranged the new arrangements for that for the new concerts, they had a different vibe to them, man. It wasn't the old plain vanilla stuff. And what was nice is, well, Chris, I mean, what do you think? Because you're just, the way you would phrase things was pretty amazing to me. You know?
I mean, I was going with, so I'm new to the gig, right? John and Ozzie were doing all these arrangements. Actually, the first thing I did when John called me and sounded me about doing it was I went out and bought a ton of Diana Ross records. I knew the tunes, right? But, she's got a huge book, and I don't know what they're going to play. The whole, as far as I would, yeah, exactly. As far as I was concerned, anything goes. She could pull out any tune out of her whole library, and I got to know the tune, right? So I'm at home listening to all the record versions of everything over and over and over and over and over. And then I show up to LA and there's new arrangements. And, like John was saying, there's like some key discrepancies between the rhythm section and the horns. And that was like, oh boy, here we go. But everything worked. We worked it out. What I loved about our horn section, right? And maybe it's a New York thing too. I mean, I'm LA musicians are fantastic. Chicago music, there are great musicians worldwide. There was something about our horn section and our string section, and New Yorkers in general, pros showing up to a gig ready for anything, right? We have to change the key, no problem. We got to take this phrase out, no problem. Just tell us what you want and we give it to you. And that's what we did for like 3 or 4 days in a row in LA. We brought our A game and then some.
Fire.
You know, I remember us, and I love this tune anyway. Mirror, Mirror, right? I remember listening to it as a kid on the radio. I freaking love that song, right? And so we're playing it in LA, and it's got a pretty nice little horn thing going on, right? Probably the hardest thing we had in the book at that point. And we're looking at it, and you know, and we're playing it, and we're, you know, we're struggling a little bit to lock it in, you know. And she stopped us a few times. She's like, "Okay, let's hear the horns here." And she knew the horn solo better than we did.
Wow.
At one point. And she made us play it like 6 times in a row. And then we finally got it. We did it a cappella, I think, maybe just with, you know, with Jerry Brown or something. But yeah, you know, the horns really brought something to that gig. I remember the LA musicians looking at the horn section, and they were, you could tell, they were like, okay, these guys are no joke.
Right.
You know?
You know, they had a 2-piece horn section, and the guys were playing synth and iwi and kind of covering all the parts, or attempting to cover all the parts from like 2 guys. But when we came in, like the 4 of us, it was like we were taking no hostages. Like, and that's just the way it was. And we played, and I, you know, can I say it?
Yeah, say it.
We played balls out. It was just, there was no other way to play that gig to us. That we were just going to go.
But we're all so used to playing horn section stuff, like when we did live with the funk band, you know, we're playing balls to the wall at the brokerage, you know, so we had that sensibility of the fire that it takes to bring a tight horn section live. And remember the stuff that we listened to with the Diana Ross stuff, that was, a lot of it was orchestral arrangements. A lot of it was, I don't want to say Broadway-ish, but some of it was played Broadway-ish. And so, you know I changed some of the lines to make it sound more funky, and then wrote them that way, knowing that we were going to look at it and go, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. And then we just, you know, and like what you were saying about Karlic, you know, I know that a lot of times when I write stuff, I don't have to put the ghost notes because I know that he already knows what I'm looking for. Yeah. So some people you have to actually write the ghost note, you know, the stuff that goes in between the actual written stuff. Yeah. Sometimes you have to write it for people, but knowing who's going to play it, no, you don't have to write that. Johnny's going to, you know, Carlic's going to know what to do there. And so we already have that sensibility, the horn section sensibility, and that's how the fire comes out. We see what's written there, and we deliver immediately.
So I had, you know, I had a different horn section on this last run, and I sent a bunch of recordings to Eric in Vegas to like learn the book. So I sent them the book, and I sent them recordings. So it was the 4 of us actually, in Atlanta at what was that outdoor?
Oh, it was always hot there too.
Like the hot. Yeah.
That was a fun gig though, man.
That's a great recording. I've heard that.
It's a great recording. So the first thing he said when he got it, he listened to it. He called me back like an hour later. He was like, "Do I have to play it like?" He was like, "Do I have to play it like that guy?" Like, because a lot of that stuff's not on the chart. And I was like, "Well, listen to it. Try to play it like Chris, but play the ink first, and then add what you can add. But I looked at his notes, and he was like, "Well, he played this here, and he played that there." And I was like, "Wow, I missed all that. Like I realized how much I missed all that because I just haven't had it. I've been playing the gig by myself for like the last whatever it is, 5, 6, 7 years. So it was just for me to go back and listen to that show in particular. And it was the 4 of us, and she was announcing each one of us before we went out to blow on the jazz tune. And I'm like, oh man, I missed that.
Which is another story that we have as far as coming out to solo. That leads us into that.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to give it a preface. So when John, Ozzie, and Chris first got the gig, I was actually working. I was very fortunate. I've been with Billy now 16 years, and I had some discrepancies and I couldn't do it. So wonderful trumpet player from New York, Trevor Newman, who's a great trumpet player, and he actually was, when I was in BS&T, he came on and played with me with BS&T also. So he was out. He was the original guy with you guys in LA. Wonderful player, and he plays a whole bunch of Broadway shows, and wonderful guy. But yeah, so I'll leave it to the storytellers to give the stories out on what we're saying, because it happened to all of us.
I had other stuff happen to me. This never happened to me. I had other stuff happen to me. But go ahead, John. Tell them about that one.
So so Trevor, we all played a solo on "Don't Explain," a great jazz tune. Diana Ross has a whole album, "Lady Sings the Blues," where she dedicates basically the whole album to Billie Holiday. And she has her own bent on the way she sings things, but her voice is really suited for that stuff. And those arrangements are just so beautiful. So "Don't Explain," we open up that song, and basically everybody who can play or can blow a little bit ends up blowing on the A section. So they get an A.
Blowing means soloing for everybody that doesn't know.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up. I was so confused.
Like it could have been a lot of things.
Bing! I explode.
So, like each guy went out. Chris was always the first solo. So baritone was always the first solo. And Chris just always, this is what I always loved about it, Chris. Like, we all know that you could have diced any one of us up there when it came to blowing jazz. And you always had this thing, like your solo was more subdued, and the band, they weren't really firing it up for your solo. They were keeping it in this place. And you just set the bar for the rest of us. You played that first solo and we were like, oh no, like Chris just killed it. And then the next guy had to go like, well, what is he going to do? Not to try to top
George would go next, right? Wasn't it George next, piano?
No, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe it was piano solo. I don't remember what the order was then, but it probably went to piano. Then it was me,
and then it was trumpet.
Trombone, and there was no tenor solo. There was no.
So it goes down the other tunes,
but it goes down the line. So now Trevor was the trumpet player at the time, and he was really starting to feel confident about the solo. Because each guy had their moment, and Trevor was kind of, he was finding his way. Now he was really feeling confident. You could just see he was ready, man. He's pumped up. Gets his moment to walk forward, and he steps out to the front of the stage with the bravado of a lead trumpet player and a guy who's about to take his solo. He takes that breath, he puts the horn to his mouth, and she just starts singing. So big breath, and then she starts singing. He's like, oh no. And then he didn't know what to do, so he stood there for a second, and then he just backed up back to the horn section. So now we're crying, laughing so hard because it just, to us, it's hysterical. God, you don't want it to happen to you. So now we're laughing so hard that we can't even play what comes after it. Not only could we not play for the next maybe 2.5 songs, we can't even look at each other because if we even make eye contact, we're going to just fall out laughing.
The audience had to know too, because they see a guy first of all, they see Chris step out. Right. Step out to the front of the stage. I mean, it's like 6 feet in front of the horn section. He steps out front. Then George, and then she goes, Georgie, and the lights go over the piano. Right. And then I step out, Ozzie, I do my thing. And he comes out, and he wants to hear Trevor. And she says, so the audience is looking, right? The audience sees the next guy coming out, and then nothing happens. And now he just
But you said it best.
happened to you too, Carly.
It was this though. It was
But you guys said
have you seen that? Have you seen that Homer Simpson bit where he comes out and he goes back into the bushes?
But you guys nailed it best because Trevor went back this way. He went back. Yeah. Everybody walked back. So Ozzie said it happened to me. It happened to all of us.
It did happen to me.
Yeah, it did. I remember. Can I tell you about? Well, give us the preface, but I remember what I said to Miss Ross the next day. This was not
well.
Good.
So it happened to Carl too. But remember, so we told you the story.
Oh, I was crying.
You better hope that it doesn't happen to you because it might happen. She might start singing, and then the same thing happened to you. Go ahead.
Well, it happened to me, but she didn't go back into the tune. She had someone else solo, or or she got confused, or maybe she went back into the tune. But so now I turn around, instead of going back, I get up and I walk back to my spot, and they're crying, and I'm like, all right, you know. I turn around, Ozzie. I can't look at Ozzie because I'm ready to puke. He's making me laugh, and John is just crying, and Chris is just like stoic. I can see him out of his eyes, like. So we get through the gig the next day, though. Ms. Ross was kind of mad at me. She goes, Carl, when you walk back to your spot after the solo, you have to walk backwards. You can't ever turn your back on the audience.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was freaking Miles Davis. I just kind of came out of me. I'm like, I thought I was freaking Miles Davis. I don't know. And she kind of looks at me. At first, she was like, I thought she was going to kill me. And then she just kind of smiled and winked. I'm like, oh, I almost just got fired.
But do you remember, so that night, though, when you got to the dressing room, Cece, the musical director, said, okay, Carl, you can take your solo now.
The line.
I forgot that.
That was the line of the night. Exactly right.
So Cece, God bless him.
Oh, my God.
Right.
We had fun.
I forgot about that. That was
Good stuff. Good
Yeah, man. Well, you know, we've been rapping for a while. Hey, Steven, what's going on with the fish heads and everybody out there? Everybody hanging?
Swordfish,
Yeah.
swordfish.
Wow.
Is it swordfish? Swordfish.
Don't abuse the swordfish. Everybody's just here hanging. We don't have a lot of questions. We just got people kind of commenting on the stories about how much
We don't have a
fun
lot
it
of
is.
people either, probably.
No, actually,
My mother, your mother, John's mom.
yeah, we got quite a good crowd, believe it or not. We did have some things, just a bunch of people saying hello.
We can't see that, right? We can't. Am I able to see that? We can't see that, right?
No.
Chat?
You gotta have magnifying
it's
glasses
too small. Yeah, but we did have a couple things. One of our regular hang president Noah is asking, when you guys were on with Diana, did she ever give any stories about the Supremes?
John, I'll let you handle that because I know prior to Ms. Ross, we all worked for, but John worked for a long time, the late, great Mary Wilson, who was the Supreme. And actually, we all did the gig. John had us on that gig many times, but John had a great relationship with Mary Wilson, who was the Supreme. So I'll let you guys go for it, but I know John has many stories about that.
You know, they each have their different approach to the way they deal with their audience. I think Mary was just more of a storyteller. Like she just liked to tell the stories. She liked to go back and tell stories about when she was a Supreme. So her show was always peppered with with some storytelling, and it wasn't necessarily about what.
You like pickles.
Like my liver.
He likes pickles, not peppers. He likes pickles.
Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Hey,
They were peppered
pickles.
Peppered pickles.
All right.
No, but Mary used to like to tell more stories. Now, Diana Ross, we would always say, like, if she would just tell one story, sometimes we would all be like much more inquisitive about it, because I want to hear the stories I don't want to read a book about it that somebody wrote. And it's funny because we were doing we did a handful of residencies at the Wynn, at the Encore Theater in Vegas. And Steve Wynn is apparently a friend of hers, and he had come out to a few shows, and he suggested, and this is my understanding, is that he suggested how nice it would be if she actually took a few minutes, maybe even sat down in the middle of the show and told some stories, and maybe even accepted some questions and answered some questions. So in Vegas, that's kind of the only place she really does it, but they bring out like the Queen's chair and a little table, and she sits down and tells a couple of stories, talks about the Supremes, talks about Berry Gordy, talks about Motown.
Wow.
So I remember at one point there was some video running behind us of her with Michael Jackson. you know, with a lot of those, with that whole era, and it would be
Right.
going on behind us. And I don't remember whether it was during the whole show or whether it was just during the opening. I know there was a big long thing during our opening before she came out, but I think when we would play certain songs, they also had video running behind us.
They did.
And we never really, well, at least I never knew until one night I would turn and I go, oh my God. And at one point she was doing, I think was it a Michael Jackson song actually?
It was a tribute to
You're
Michael
Not
Jackson.
Alone, that
Yeah.
song.
Right. There was You Are Not Alone, Missing You. There were like
Missing
3
You.
songs. Yeah.
And so there was pictures of her and him behind
Yeah.
us. And, that was pretty moving. And then a couple of times Berry Gordy was in the audience and she would,
Yep.
I remember those.
During the jazz set, she had all kinds of great scenery, like jazz club scenery behind us. During the opening, there was a whole bunch of scenery. During the Motown set, she had all pictures of the Supremes, so there were like different segments of the show where she had footage.
Sure.
But she didn't usually talk about it.
Right.
But in Vegas, she kind of just started sitting down and telling stories about it, and then answering questions. And a lot of times people would ask about her children because, you know, they wanted to hear about, you know, how Tracy is doing and just how her daughters are doing, what her sons are up to. And she loves telling those stories too. So that's kind of where we're at now. She takes that time to tell some stories. And I, you know, like when I have the opportunity to talk to her, I'm like, I love hearing those stories. And not because I don't want to play. I want to hear the stories from, you know, from the horse's mouth. Like I want to hear it from her, you know. So it's kind of
I have a Mary Wilson story that's with you, John. I don't know if you remember this. We're doing a sound check and the guitar player sings a duet with her, right? We're doing a sound check and something happened when he came down with shingles, right? Remember this?
It was a Sting tune, Fields of Gold.
Fields of Gold. Yeah, yeah.
I don't believe I remember.
And I'm sitting there, you know, I'm just hearing you, they're talking and I'm just like, you know, emptying my spit valve or I'm doing something. And I hear somebody say, you know, she says, oh, I really want to do this song. How are we going to do this song? And John goes, Ozzie can sing it. I go, what? I wound up singing the song with her that night, remember?
Oh, I do remember, bro.
I had to learn it that night. I can't remember whether it was the night before that I found out that I had to do it or if it was during the sound check and I had to listen to it right before the night and do it with her. But I remember doing it. And I remember it was
BB King's. Was that BB King's?
BB King's.
I remember. I was on that gig. I remember that. Yeah, and Don Harris.
in my pants,
the infamous BB King's gig.
The infamous, was it the infamous one?
Well, wait a second. Well, she probably did a bunch of gigs at BB King's.
You talking about the one with the quarter in my?
The only time I offered to play for free and then got paid was at BB King's with Barry
Oh
Wilson.
yes, that one too.
Oh, right.
Yep.
That was also the night that we were taking some kind of a break or something, and I was cleaning out my horn. And for 2 weeks, for 2 weeks, I have been going, what the hell? Something's wrong. My chops, guys. I don't know what's going on. And I've been doing sessions, and I feel like I was out of tune, and I've been embarrassed. And as I'm cleaning my horn out, a quarter pops out of the friggin'.
I remember that.
I had a quarter because I used to have a case. That was,
the jazz urinal. We used to call it the jazz urinal.
And you guys, when I wasn't looking, would throw stuff in my. So a quarter must have gotten wedged in there, and it happened to be in the tuning slide. For like 2 weeks, I was playing with a quarter stuck in here, and I pulled this out to clean it, and that thing popped out, and I went, "Oh my God, there's a quarter in my!" And you guys were cracking up laughing.
You know, we used to. I mean, because you had that case that was like a golf bag, and you would show up and just put it down in the middle of everything. And it's like Vinny and I would go get like packets of sugar and like straws and just throw them in your case.
Thank you.
Not thinking that when you put your horn in the case and close it, they were all going to shake around and then end up inside, like inside your bell. I would have, you know, whatever. And it was
you would have left it. Trust me, you would have left it. You would have left it.
It's good for more good stories. That's all.
He would have left it.
I remember
Carl,
you saying you were struggling, and I was like, I still wouldn't have even thought that the change would have gone inside your horn.
Dude, I remember doing a session for Greg Adams that was on video. A Japanese company came in and videoed the whole session for a Greg Adams tune or 2 or 3 tunes. Greg Adams, me, Barry was on it, and I can't remember who and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I feel horrible. What's going on? I wasn't telling anybody. I was struggling. And then, you know, and I did a couple of things like that. And then that day is when I found it was a freaking quarter in there. Thank you, John. Benny.
It's a freaking quarter. Chris, I'm sorry. What were you saying? I interrupted you.
No, I'm wondering, Carl, if you were on that gig where John called me to play the baritone book with Mary Wilson at BB King's for like 4 shows or something like that. And then turned around and called back like within 2 or 3 hours. He says, bro, I'm sorry. You know, she only wants 4 horns. You know, she wants to keep, you know, keep it under budget and all this stuff. And I wasn't doing anything that weekend. And it was going to be you, Don Harris, Ozzie, and Scarpulla. Exactly right. And I said, does she have the book with her? And he says, yeah. I said, man, I'm not doing anything.
Come out.
Can I just come by and play? I just want to play. And Scarpulla, John he's like, what exactly are you asking me? I'm like, man, can I just play? I'll play the gig for free. I just want to show up and play and hang with you guys. That's how much I love you guys.
And you did it, right? You were on the gig.
I absolutely. So I show up, and Bobby, the road manager, you know, he had a stand set up for me and a microphone, and like I was all wired up, and I showed up in the right clothes, and Mary had no idea. I did the sound check, and then we go out, we do the first show. And John, you might have to pick it up from here, but from what I understand, she called you into her dressing room after the first show. And there were some words.
There was, you know, what's going on here? This is my stage. You don't make these decisions for me. And
oh, really? I didn't know that happened.
But I was like, you know, the cat, you know, he was already gonna do the gig. He was gonna do the gig.
Cat is a musician for all you people.
It's also a feline with 4 legs. Called a pussycat dog.
Nice dog.
Nice.
I'm the translator here.
But
he's bilingual.
These guys, man, these two, we're gonna have to separate them.
So yeah, Chris did the gig, and also I'm gonna bring something up. The other half is dedicated. The show is dedicated to Don Harris, who was playing trumpet, and that was also, we were all eating catering, and we all had a nice. Because Ozzie's always, he's like Ozzie's like the Pope. Ozzie brings people together. I remember like I was fighting with Don, and we were all fighting with Don. Everybody was fighting. It was a horrible day, just a horrible week. And Ozzie was like the Pope, man. He just made everybody feel good musically and just brought everybody.
You're not getting along. You're not getting along. Get over here.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys aren't leaving it till you work shit out. That's when I found the quarter. I swear to God,
right.
that's when I was
the same gig.
When
right?
you guys were working it out, I was kind of off to the side listening, acting like I was cleaning my horn, but I really was. I had to do something. And that's when I went, oh my God. And you guys were like, and everybody was happy after that.
Yeah. John and Don dealt their stuff.
To this day, I love telling that story because it reminds me of why I started playing music to begin with. I mean, you know, everybody needs to put food on their table and pay the mortgage and feed their families. But when it comes right down to it, when we're kids and we're playing because we just love it.
Exactly right. How many times have you done a gig and forget to get paid? Forget that you're going to get paid. It happened to me. I was playing with Clarence Clemens. I was subbing for Bob Funk, the Uptown Horns. I go to Mohegan Sun and play at the Wolf Den.
Yeah.
I had so much fun playing with the horn section, and I left. I'm halfway home. The Wolf Den's in Connecticut. I live in Long Island. I get in my car, and I'm like, 10 minutes away. I'm like, oh my God, I never got paid. I had to go back, and there's Kristen Cho. Man, we were looking for you. Like what you said, Chris, we just love to play. I mean, that's when you know a musician is a musician, because they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Don't tell anybody that.
Well, I tell a lot of students, and this is a thing that you guys can kind of reiterate. Sometimes when someone says, "I'll pay you $30," I'm like, I can be a bar back and make $100. What are you talking about? Don't insult me. I said, if it's a fun gig, if I have a good time, I'd rather do it for nothing than to be insulted for $30. If I want to be there, and if it's the people I want to be with, or and people don't understand that,
Well, back in the day, we did that stuff because you wanted to get exposure as well.
You had to, right? We had to. China Club. How many times did we play the China Club? All of us. Just showing up and jamming back in the day. And oh my God,
some great days. The China Club Monday night hangs.
Geraldo Velez, who's actually he lives an hour from. He's in Sarasota now. He lives in
Oh,
Sarasota.
wow.
Really? Oh my
I
God.
just found out a couple months ago. He was a Thunder Club All Stars, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Thunder Club, but he also had to try. Oh man, it's going.
I thought he lived in Hawaii.
He's in
lives in Florida?
Sarasota. He's in
Okay.
Sarasota.
Wow.
Crazy.
Sarasota.
Sarasota.
Great guy. He's a great guy, man.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Gerardo Velez, he was with Jimi Hendrix at a little place called Woodstock.
Mhm. He's a percussionist.
Yeah, and still looks
He's
the
with
same.
wasn't he with Spyro Gyra for like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Long time.
12,
Yep.
15 years, something like that?
Yep.
I
Steven,
remember seeing him kicking
sorry.
cymbals. I remember
cymbals?
seeing him playing and like kicking cymbals, like he was like really acrobatic,
Yeah.
like he had a whole thing going on where it's part of his show.
Very
I think it was him.
super entertaining. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah, yeah.
Super.
He's still in great shape too, man. He's not an ounce of fat on his body. I'm going to give him some. I'm going to call him up and give him some.
Like you're gonna give him some what? Some fat?
I'll give him a kick and a China cymbal.
Couple of
I'll give him
bonds.
some fat. Yeah. A little. What's up, Steve-O? How we doing over there?
We're doing good. Want to
Lose
take a
everybody?
second? No. We got more than we started with, so we're doing good.
Yeah.
Swordfish.
Yeah. Let's quit while we're ahead. No. Want to take a second. Got a couple killer musicians hanging with us in the chat, who are friends as well. Mr. Sal Giorgiani is hanging out with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
And then Mr. Marco Marcinko is hanging with us.
Wow.
Ah,
Wonderful drummer.
Yeah.
Mark.
love that cat.
Yeah.
A lot of
Wow, I
good
haven't
people
seen him.
hanging with us. Natalie says, definitely thank you guys for the vocabulary lesson tonight. Shedding, blow, cats. It's worth the quarter that Ozzie found. So thank you guys for the vocabulary. Had a couple quick questions for each person.
Nice pussy dog.
Oh Jesus! Yep, this is where I want the delay button. But had one for Chris. Chris, somebody's asking, as a non-musician, this may be silly, but does a baritone saxophone in a pop band often have to be careful of stepping on the bass player?
Wow, good question.
That is a great question. It depends on what the bass player's playing. It depends on the function of kind of the horn section, where they're playing, where they're not playing. I'm trying to remember a situation where I was either replicating a bass player or things were that close to a bass player where I had to
Well, Motown.
alter what I was doing.
The Motown stuff comes to mind, but other than that, right? Motown, didn't you have to play on the Dinah Ross gig? You had to play some stuff with the bass. Oh,
Yeah, but that sure. But rather than I think rather than stepping on the bass player's toes, right? It was just we were playing the same line. You know what I mean? There wasn't a competition for, which one was supposed to be more predominant than the other. Although I gotta say, like some of that stuff that I play that's not written on the chart is in an effort to not step on the bass player and still have a bass mentality, but within the horn section itself, right? So the rhythm section's got their pocket, the bass player is playing his lines, right? The bass player is functioning in the way that he's going to function. Now, me as a baritone player, I function in different ways, right? I might be playing in unison with the horn section. We might be playing the same figures, right? I might be playing up in the staff harmony wise. But then, once I get cut loose, right? If you guys cut me loose and I can fill in stuff in between to accentuate what the horn section is doing, totally different.
Good question.
So it depends. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go one further because John and you have the same mentality with equipment, and a lot of saxophone players need to hear this if you're a saxophone player or just a horn player in general. First off, John was originally an alto player, plays tenor, but also plays a mean bari, and Chris also plays baritone sax, but I've played gigs with him on tenor that just scared the hell out of me. So they've versed themselves in the family of woodwinds very well. Both are great flute players. But I remember talking to both of these guys, and if you're going to play in an R&B setting, a Tower of Power setting with Doc Kupka, low A. Talk to me about your low A baritone, because a lot of guys always they're not hip to the whole thing of a good low A. So I'll leave it to this woodwind section over here to talk about the low A's.
You know, for me, my first baritone was a B flat baritone, because it was the first one I was able to get my hands on, and I really, I knew there were low A baries, but it was way out of my budget.
Explain a low A.
This is where we lose our audience.
Yeah, explain a low A, Ozzie.
No, but it was just
it's an A and a G and an F.
to play.
It smells patchouli.
To play
Baritone, trombone, bye.
Let's
talk about slider mix and Outcast valve oil.
Trombone.
Trombone.
That's
it's like Ovaltine, but tastes worse.
Mute.
Trombone is a marmalade, isn't it?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, fellas. With the woodwind.
No, just in a funk and pop situation, a lot of stuff you just needed a low A. You needed that extra half step. It was like, you know, being able to turn your amp to 11.
Yeah.
You know?
And both you guys have
Chris,
them.
Chris, you could explain more about, you know, like more like jazz purists or baritone purists that, you know, that really gravitate more towards the B flat horn as opposed to the low A horn.
Well, real quickly, I have a memory of Chris bringing the B flat to the funk gig, and I remember him I think I might have been drunk Philharmonic, but I think I remember him sticking the bell of the thing into his leg.
Yeah.
So in a half step. So he'd be like, so it would lower the half step. Yes.
You know who used to do that is Gary Simoleon.
Gary.
Where you got it from?
Gary Simoleon.
Right.
You know what? So like on the gigs where I knew I had to have a low A for some tunes, but I had to own some real dogs as far as low A's where the tone was just hideous. It sounded like I was playing into a pillow, right? I would bring two horns to the gig, and I would only play the low A on tunes that I absolutely had to because I hated playing it so much. But that was because the particular low A's that I had were absolute dogs, and I would play the low B flat. And then I got lucky. I got a low A con, which was unreal, and I played that for a long time. And then I kind of got a low A super balance, which sounded even better than the con. So to me, tone is number one important. If I could get the sound I want to get, whatever, I'll play a freaking kazoo. It doesn't matter, right? But I got to be able to get my sound. And it took me 15 years to find, maybe 20, to find a low A that actually I could get my sound on, because it's harder. It's harder. For me, it's hard.
Did you bring the B flat to my house when we did didn't you come to my house a few times? And one time you brought it to do the funk record. Didn't you bring the B flat at one point? I'm like, what are you doing bringing a B flat? I need you on A.
No. I played the A on the funk record.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember Simoleon subbing for you on the funk gig. I don't remember where the gig was.
I think it was at the brokerage.
He showed up with a B flat. He was like, I didn't know I needed the low A. I was like, you know, I think he actually said, I don't have a low A. I think it was his answer.
He doesn't.
He was like, I don't even have a low A. He showed up with the B flat, and whenever he had a low A, he just didn't play.
And talk about a sound. He's got a massive sound. It's unreal. Yeah. Right. And so he would turn his baritone to the left, get a low A out when he needed to, and that would be that.
So funny, man. That is funny, man.
That's awesome.
Totally killer.
You know, that being said, there are guys out there like Ronnie Cuber, who's absolutely, you know, insanely great, and he's always been a low A guy. So, you know,
he's back.
Does that answer the question?
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's the question.
It's good conversation, definitely.
So I just want to go back though, because we were hitting a couple things that were with Ozzie with his quarter that John, you know, wouldn't throw anything in his horn. You know, he's totally innocent. I had a 78 Cadillac living in black Cadillac, 2-door Coupe de Ville with the elegance, 1978. And we're playing La Barbat a lot. That's when Ron and Vinny didn't want to come into this. They were working a lot. Ron was teaching. And so Ron wouldn't make a lot of these gigs. So I would play La Barbat, which was on 57th Street in Manhattan. And I'd come out. I had this. It was an old car and it had rust on it, but I loved the car. And I come out and I look, and there's a pile of 55-gallon garbage bags all over of garbage from the hood to the trunk of my car. I'm like, there's only one guy that I know that would do this, and his name is John Scarpulla. I'm like, all right. So next month, he has a Jeep. I do it. We're doing club dates now. So those are the funk gigs. So now we're doing club dates, and he got the Jeep.
Club dates is a wedding. It's an actual wedding.
The more you know.
And I'm sitting there at a stoplight. I'm like, Central Park West. I'm sitting there waiting for a light, and I hear bang, and Scarpulla, he rear ends me with the Jeep.
I used to do that with the Jeep.
Yeah, so I throw the car in reverse, and I'm trying to push. You couldn't dent the car. The abuse we would give each other on our automobiles, let alone horns, forget about it. But, oh, my God. I was telling my wife the other day, I got rear-ended in her car, and everything's plastic now. And, you look at it, and the thing falls apart. I'm like, I wish I had my Cadillac back.
And how many times did the briefcase cross 57th Street after the
the music case?
God. No, so that wasn't a briefcase. It was Ozzie's father's valise.
It was an attaché case.
An attaché case. That's what he called it.
Attaché means briefcase.
The reason why we would do that is because it said Samsonite, and back then it was the commercial that said you can drop it out of an airplane. You could do that. So we would have contests to see who could throw the whole thing down the block. Remember? On the street?
But we would do it at that other club in Farmingdale too, whatever that place was called by the train tracks. And you could throw that thing 150 feet, like 50 feet in the air, and another 100 feet just sliding down. You still have it. He's got with the charts in it. When you open this case up, it smells like the brokerage.
It does.
It smells like beer, vomit, and unfortunately, probably a little bit of urine.
Oh my God! There
it is. Attaché.
Open it.
Smell it.
Charts here are the original Funk Philharmonic charts that I wrote. The
red folders.
Huh?
Oh wow, the red
folders.
Yes,
Jesus, that's going back, man. I remember that.
I smell it already.
Oh my God! No, I can't show this. It's too embarrassing.
Come on, you came this far.
Do it. It's moldy. It's moldy.
Oh my God. Oh Lord.
It's stuck together.
Oh, you need a tetanus shot, bro.
You better close it back up.
Look.
I can still read it, kind of.
That thing's been around the world, man.
Oh my God.
And I actually, while I was just walking away, let's talk about
let's make fun of him. Hurry up.
Well, Chris and I weren't on a gig, obviously. I was a sub, and Chris wasn't on the band at the time. Ozzie put together, and I know Ozzie's very proud of this, so we'll preface it. Talk about Funk Philharmonic in Europe with Ray Charles.
Oh, but that's an Ozzie story that
it's deep, man. It's deep.
He's got to tell that.
Yeah, and I mean, his
so many stories from that. There's so many stories. Ozzie,
Ray Charles. Ray Charles in Europe, Funk Philharmonic. I know that was very close to your heart.
Yeah, great.
Talk about that.
Yeah, great. Still paying.
I mean, musically, right?
It was amazing. It was amazing. We went out there and warmed up. We were the opening act for Ray Charles in a place called Skellefteå, Sweden, which my wife was from there, my ex-wife. And
what year was this, Oz? This was in the 90s or 8?
Man, I'm not good with that.
I'll look it up.
Look it up.
Call Lee. Lee, what year was it?
It was pretty amazing. There's a lot to that. There's a lot to that. I mean, the good stuff was that, we warmed up for Ray. Then some of us played with Ray.
Yep.
I went there ahead of time and I rehearsed I wrote out like an arrangement of a choir to sing a couple of tunes with Ray.
Yeah.
And they were so excited, and I rehearsed them. I had everything written out, and I rehearsed them. And the day of the concert, that's where I actually met Victor Vanacore. I'm sorry, which was the brother? Which was
Victor.
It's Victor, right?
Victor was the
All
conductor.
right, David Vanacore is the guy that writes all the music.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right, for Survivor and all those shows. Victor Vanacore was the musical director for Ray Charles at the time. He said, "Hey man, Ray's not going to want the choir." And I'm like, "Oh my God, they're going to be so hurt. They've been rehearsing all week. They're so into it."
Yeah.
He said, "Let me see what I can do." He went back and he said, "Man, it doesn't look like it's going to happen." I said, "Please, if there's anything you can do, they're all here. I'm telling you, you have my word. They sound great." At the last minute, he says, "Okay."
Wow.
And so part of that was, so they came up, I forgot what song it was. I guess it was Georgia. I think it was Georgia and one other tune. And the first thing when they started singing, this is Victor Vanacore telling me the story later on. He says, when the choir came in, Ray leaned over to me. Remember, he's the director. He said, he leaned over to me and said, "That's the shit." He goes, "That's the shit, Vic." That was good. And then before that, we did the funk band. You see, the funk band warmed up. Oh, and then there was a full orchestra, and I did an arrangement of the Circle of Life. Right. I did an arrangement of the Circle of Life. I don't know if you remember this, John.
I do.
The whole orchestra played. Sandy sang, Tom sang, I think, as well. And right before we were going to go on, the Swedish military comes to me and says, "We're going to do a flyover. We're going to do a flyby. Tell us when you wanted to, what part of the song you wanted." I said, I'm thinking to myself, wow, at letter B was like this big fanfare. I go, letter B would be great. He goes, "Just let me know." I think he said something like 8 seconds before. And I'm thinking 8 seconds in the music. I don't know. Is that 3 bars, 4 bars? I don't know. I never thought about it. And so anyway, I'm conducting the orchestra and we're doing the whole thing. And we're coming up to letter B and he's on the side of the stage. And I go like this. And don't you know, at letter B, those mother flowers came right over. Whoosh, really low. And everybody's hair just stood. My hairs are standing up now thinking about it. I remember Lee was like tearing. I look back and he's tearing. And it was a pretty amazing thing. And it just, it worked out. What else? Oh, we had to put together our own stage because there was a lot of other funky stuff that happened.
Yeah.
We showed up to a gig and the stage, it was like scaffolding, the stage. And it was laying there in the field. And they're like, "There's going to be a concert. You guys are going to play. You got to build the stage." So with a crew of like family members from your ex-wife's family and friends, we built the stage.
Wow.
We built the scaffolding.
Put together the sound system. Jack Knight helped put together the sound system. That was
we set up the stage and played the
We have pictures. I think Tom Bowes up on the scaffolding.
We do up on Tom Bowes, like totally nuts, climbing the scaffolding to like connect wires and oh my God.
Wow.
I remember. Was Franceschini there?
Oh, the other thing was, I'm sorry.
No,
he wasn't there.
No.
The other thing I remember was at the night before, Ray Charles. Oh, he had gotten sick and he had canceled a bunch of shows. The way I feel right now, he had canceled a bunch of shows because of his throat, and so he wasn't almost not going to be able to make it.
Oh, wow.
And so I think at the last minute he wound up coming that day, and he was kind of, not super Ray Charles, but it doesn't matter because even Ray Charles at 50% is better than anything else you're going to see. So it was still a great concert. It was pretty amazing. Not many people showed up. That was the only thing. It wasn't a lot of people that showed up. The week after that, I remember, was going to be like this big festival that the town was going to be putting on. And so there's a lot more to the story, but the good stuff, all that good stuff was a pretty amazing. We have pictures of that too. Prips Blau beer, we're drinking the
driving motorcycles.
First when Ray plays an alto solo on one tune.
Oh yeah.
And I was like 4 feet away from him, and obviously he can't find the microphone until he hears that his instrument is being being amplified with the mic. And he just stood up, and I just remember him like getting in front of the microphone to play, and he like blew off mic, and then he figured out where the microphone was. I just remember I cried because it was just, he was so amazing. And then he picked up an alto and just totally killed it after he finally found the microphone. And it was just, I forget who I was sitting next to. It must've been Al Stewart. I think the two of us, we were just crying. It was like, it was so amazing. He was awesome, like awesome for us to be part of that. Thank you, Oz.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Wonderful story. I remember when you guys came back, and throughout the years, always seeing pictures and the camaraderie of the band talking about just the gig. And it's just, it's like the boys club going and doing something really cool. So as being positive and cool, John and I are walking across 23rd Street, and John sees a blind guy having a hard time going across the street. So, Johnny on the spot grabs him and helps him across the street. And he goes, "Hey man, have you seen the neighborhood change? You lived here for a long time."
You said that. It wasn't me.
No, it
It was you.
He said, "How long have you lived here?" He goes, "A long time." I'm like, "You see the neighborhood change?"
He's like, "That's the neighborhood change." Like, I don't know why those things come out of our mouths, but
I know. Well, let's talk about the clinic we did in your old high school.
Oh yeah, that was a little mistake. It was just a play on words that came out. When you like the one thing you're not supposed to say, and you're trying to not say it the whole time, and you're trying to avoid it, it just slips out.
Yeah, well, we won't hit that because education might want us back sometime, and
Yeah.
we're really the best.
You're the best.
We're the best.
How about talking about some stuff when we played with you with Billy, man?
Yeah.
That was actually one of the questions that we had. Is
Yeah,
we've got
that's always a highlight, man. Super highlight playing with you. Mark Rivera. Me and Johnny.
Crystal,
Raul
Raul.
Agras. I wish we could have got Chris on it to lay some baritone sax. We had Kevin Osborne playing trombone and singing also. We need to round it out with some Barry, but one of these days.
I played Barry. I think I played Barry.
That's right. You played Barry, and Mark played tenor. There it is. Yep. And there's Oz. And
oh wow, that's really cool. I was actually thinking more of the one that we just recently did, not recently, but the 100th concert at Madison Square Garden.
Was that with Paul Simon and Miley?
Yeah.
It was.
That was a fun night.
It was Springsteen or that
It
was
Springsteen. Oh, I don't
because
know.
we did one with Springsteen too.
I got the thing hanging up. It's 100, but I don't know who the hell
Me
it was.
too.
It's funny. So the fish heads,
July
tell us
8th.
who was at the 100, because none of us will remember this.
I was.
Who was there?
It was Paul Simon, Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. Yeah.
Right.
Then who was Bruce then? What was Bruce's cut?
That must have been another one.
So the fish heads or the Billy heads, what was the concert with Bruce where we had the horn section?
Why did he expand the horn section? Because there's always a reason.
10th, yeah. So usually what happens is we'll get a call, and it happens very rarely because we don't have much leeway, meaning it's pretty spontaneity is pretty
Pretty.
yeah,
Prevalent.
yeah. Prevalent. Thank you.
It's
I'm a
pretty
little slow.
prevalent.
Prevalent. Pickle. But what's amazing is we knew that Bruce was gonna come, and 10th Avenue Freeze Out, all the horn heavy tunes were gonna be happening. So why not have extra horns? And Tommy Burns is a big proponent. Because Tommy
Absolutely.
was also the music director of Moving Out, music director of Billy's band when I first joined, and he's about like we are. It's a big family. Keep everybody working. And and Chris, I want to bring Chris Karlick into the mix because Chris, anything he plays is a monster instrument. But what happens with our horn section is, sometimes we'll have, for instance, Steven showed a shot of Last Play at Shea. So we had, I think, 12 strings and we had 5 horns. And there's not a lot of horn heavy things, but if there are, we're going to put some, put a treatment on it. So the Bruce thing was great. The Paul Simon thing is horn heavy. And Ozzie can tell you, Ozzie and Barry Donnelly did a show called Cape Man, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which was Paul Simon's music. And so, they knew all that stuff. And our friend, Chris's friend, John's friend, and Ozzie's friend, my friend Andy Snitzer, who's a wonderful player. He's been Paul Simon's band tenor player for years. So when we know what's happening and there's enough precursor to the gig, we're lucky. But, it's amazing that it's Billy's living room, the garden. And I'll just add just one thing. We played Saturday night with Billy. Mark Anthony with Ozzie was there on Friday. So I was going to come too. I was going to sneak in. But
that would have been awesome. I told Patricia, the caterer.
Oh, yeah.
I told her, I said, hey, if you're gonna see Carl and those guys, tell them I said hello. But I don't think,
cool.
I think she because she was at Prudential, because we played the Prudential the next night.
The next
She
Saturday
was
night,
there
in Jersey.
in Jersey. So I played Friday at the Garden, and then Saturday was Prudential, and she was at both of them. I thought she was going to stay at the Garden.
No, she doesn't do the Garden anymore. Yeah, she's great though. She's great.
But she was there Friday.
She was there for you guys. We have a different caterer now.
Oh, right. You guys got the.
Yeah. Well, with COVID, we had to. COVID is not. It's not this. COVID. I mean,
it's not this.
It's not this. I mean, we're locked down still.
The protocol.
Yeah, it's the protocol. That's why I didn't come to see you, honestly, because I didn't want to give you the cooties I had.
You know what other one that I remember that was really cool, actually? It's the one that we did where it was Billy's band, and you guys had me aboard, and I think John was there too. But it was Billy's band, but it was Bruce Springsteen as well. But Bruce would sing Billy's tunes, and then we would play Bruce's tunes, and Billy would sing his tunes. And that was for
Obama's inauguration.
It was no, I don't think it was the inauguration. I think it was for a fundraiser.
The fundraiser. That's right. India RE, John Legend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right. Billy was doing Bruce's, and Bruce did Billy.
And he came to our sound check. Remember Obama and Michelle?
Yep. Christy Brinkley was there. John. Remember John was in the stairways warming up. You remember that?
I remember that.
Oh man, he was warming up like a trumpet player. John Legend had like this whole thing of like doing like slurs and flexibility studies and long tones.
Oh wow!
Like to the point where it freaked me out.
He sounds like a studied vocalist to me. He sounds like somebody that studied. What I do remember about that sound, about the rehearsal or sound check, I can't remember which one it was. What always stuck in my mind, and I do tell a story a lot, is how when we took a break, there was a door right there, and outside that door was whatever street it was in New York. Because I don't remember.
Manhattan Center. We played Manhattan Center.
Okay, so right outside that door was the street,
Yep.
And I remember all of us taking a break and going out there, including Billy and Bruce.
We went to
no security.
We went to B. Smith's. Didn't we go to B. Smith's and have a drink at that point?
Maybe I don't remember having a drink.
We had apple juice, but
but I remember them going out there, and what sticks in my head is that people going, hey, as they're driving by and walking by, hey Bruce, hey Billy. There was no security, and they were just like, hey, how's it going? They were just so freaking cool. I just remember that sticks in my head that they're just so down to earth. Yeah. That's at least that's the impression I got. I don't work with them all the time.
No, you're 100% right. They're men's men. And Barry Denin would say the same thing about Bruce, I'm sure. Yeah. So, there's a million stories we can go with, but I don't want to lose.
Oh my God, we just started it.
I know. Swordfish. I don't want to lose anybody. How are we doing with everybody? Are we losing anybody, Steven? How's everybody feeling?
No, got more than we had when you asked last time.
Oh boy.
We did have a couple questions though. You kind of mentioned it a little bit, but we've got a lot of people that are joining us for the first time that are fans of Ozzie with Mark Anthony, and then we've got a lot of people coming on.
Thank you.
We got a lot of people coming on the opposite side that are interested in Carl with Billy, and they're wondering if you guys could talk about your perspective gigs a little bit. What it's like working with Billy, what the Mark Anthony gig is like, things like that. I know it's a general question, but
yeah, hit Oz.
Well, I can say that with Mark and probably with all the bands. I mean, it's there's no room for complacency ever. In any rehearsal, in any sound check, in any gig. There is no room for any mistakes or complacency. You go there, anytime you put your instrument to your face, or if you're singing, or if you got sticks, you have to play 100,000%, because that's what he does every night. Whenever he's rehearsing, whenever he's singing, he will never, ever give more. He'll never give less than 100,000%. And so that has taught me, I've actually done that anyway in the past, like whether it's a wedding, club date, whether it's a wedding or
club date,
right? Any kind of gig, my philosophy's always been that I like to make the guys next to me happy, because those are the guys that are going to get you the gig. So if the trumpet player here likes what I'm doing and the sax player likes what I'm doing, then hopefully if they ever get any calls to do stuff, they're going to want me. So I very rarely go in there with a shitty attitude and, oh, I'm better than this, I don't want to play. Well, that whole band is like that every time we get together. It's just, you can record any night, you can record any rehearsal. And Mark is just amazing. I mean, a lot of times when you're playing in a band like that and you have your in-ears, right? We don't have monitors anymore. Now we have these things, the in-ears. And so a lot of times you have the vocalist very soft because, you know, maybe the vocalist isn't always in pitch because he's entertaining or he's dancing around. Mark is doing all that stuff, and he's never out of tune and he's never out of time.
Wow.
It's that he's that amazing. And so that's what I have to say about that. I love playing there. It's actually been 20 years this year that I've been.
So I was close, 20 years, coming on 20 years. Wow. Well, you know, I could talk for Chris, and Chris can talk about it, and so can John. We were privied out with Diana one night. It was a jazz festival. You played with Mark Anthony.
Oh, I think the Bahamas. Was it the
Bahamas, right? Actually, yeah, and I think Mark Miller was playing. He was relieving you because the next day you were gone, so we got to see you in your element in the Bahamas.
Oh, it might have been Aruba.
Aruba. You're right, Chris. Right, Aruba. And so that was the first time.
That was the same festival that Toto played.
Yes,
that's right, with Nathan East and
yes.
Was it Steve Luthier?
Steve Lukather.
Steve Lukather was there.
Yeah, that was bad. Great band. Oh my God. Yeah, that was a great. And didn't we have apartments, townhouses or something? We had some crazy. We had I remember seeing. There's a picture of, and Steven, you had this picture up a few times. There's a picture of the band and everybody hanging out, in Aruba at a table, and Mark Anthony band and DR band got pictures the day of when we were leaving.
Is James Genus there as well? Oh, and also
Herbie.
Herbie played.
Yeah. With Herbie and James Genus on bass, Lionel Luke,
yes.
all the cats, and so you know, Ozzie was in the horn section, you know, a big proponent with Diana, but so we had Mark Miller, who's playing with John now with Ms. Ross, a wonderful trombone player. But we got to see, we got there a day before, and we got to see the set. And man, there's no complacency. And I don't think that any gig that these three musicians are on, I've been very fortunate, is you bring your A game with these guys, you know, and it could be a wedding is the same as Madison Square Garden, as a jazz festival. They're all the same intent. You go to play. It's that serious. You go to play, regardless if it's 10 people or 10,000 people, it doesn't matter. But what was really special to me is seeing the camaraderie in the Mark Anthony band, and then the following. Oh, actually, the following night too, Eric Benny Bloom from Boston, great trumpet player with Lettuce. He was there. Remember Eric? Eric was playing with somebody else. I can't remember the band. But yeah, that was Hugh Masekela.
Oh, we have pictures with Hugh Masekela. You're right.
That was the same gig, right? Right, Chris? That was a fun little weekend, man.
That was great.
Do you remember being at breakfast? So the day after the concert, we were back in that. We had
George
that big
Duke,
complex.
George Duke was there.
So, but there's Herbie Hancock is having breakfast with George Duke.
That's right.
And they're sitting, and everybody's like, you know, everybody wants to go say hey to Herbie, or like, you know, I gotta say something to him, you know.
Yeah.
But
so these are the guys that we all studied when we were in college. For everybody that doesn't know, Herbie Hancock, we studied, you know, a lot of their soloing and transcribing their stuff and how they played and what they played, and the same with
There
George
you go.
Duke.
Look, Steven's got the shot. Look at this.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, you know who else? Just the drummer was there too.
Vinny Caluta. Vinny Caluta.
Bro, so do you remember those guys were having breakfast, and Sidney Poitier walked in?
Oh my God!
And they got up, like Herbie and like those guys got up and ran. Like we were all enamored because we wanted to go say hello to Herbie.
Yeah.
And when Sidney walked in, man, those guys got up and like ran to him and like, please come and sit with us. And we you know, nobody could even go and bother them at that point. Yeah. But I remember I ran into Herbie in the airport the next day. I was like, man, I didn't want to ask you yesterday. I didn't want to bother you, but man, I've been listening to your music my whole life, and I'm sure people walk up to you and say this all the time, but please let me have a photo with you. So, you know, I get to hear him play. I got to see him eat breakfast. Get a picture with him.
What was funny was Ozzie and I can't remember, one of the security guys with Mark Anthony. Alex was there's the shot of us having lunch in Aruba with Mark Miller and CC, Mike Seacrest.
I see Valerie.
See Valerie.
But I
They're very
remember being
small.
at the airport and having the Mark Anthony band hanging and the DR band hanging. And again, Herbie showing up. And I talked to Herbie about Dizzy and Maynard. Told him I was with Maynard. And Herbie started talking to me about harmony with Maynard. He goes, you know, Maynard Ferguson, and I'm talking about the late, great Maynard Ferguson. I told him, for some reason, I just blurted out Maynard Ferguson. It's part of my DNA. And it's like, Maynard was very underrated as a harmonic soloist, and start talking about the way he would use harmony, and start talking about harmony in the middle of the airport. I was like, is Herbie talking to me about harmony in the airport on the line?
It's a real moment.
Remember, guys, DR and Herbie were on the same flight going back to the States. She flew commercial that day, and they were like, they were on before anybody. So they got whisked on. And we're like, oh my God, that just happened. It was kind of a cool thing.
Wait, Gladys Knight was there too, right?
That's right.
In first class, because I actually went up to her and told her a story, and she remembered the story that I had. You know, I'm not going to bore you with the story, but I remember she was on that flight as well.
Tell it.
I'll tell a quick story. When I was a kid, me and John Maschio, everybody knows John Maschio, we went out to LA and we got tickets to go see the Hollywood Squares. And she was one of the squares. And one of the questions was something about, you know, what is the name of your side, you know, your background, blah, blah, blah. And of course it was the Pips. Well, me and John started singing one of the songs, and I don't know which one it was. We started singing the backgrounds in the audience, and she started singing the lead.
Come on.
And we did it for, I don't know, it might have been 15 seconds. It felt like forever, but we just did a little piece of, I don't remember what song it was. And she started singing. So later on that, when we left the flight and we're walking to the airport, I ran up to her security guard and I said, hey, you think? And she goes, she's absolutely cool. Go ahead and ask her. So I said, do you remember? She goes, absolutely, I remember. Now, whether she was, you know, maybe she was just.
That's cool.
She made me feel good by saying, yeah, absolutely, I remember the Hollywood Squares. I remember you guys sang. And
Wow.
You guys
Like, arrest them.
You guys mentioned Mark Miller. Mark's actually hanging out with us in the chat.
Okay.
He says
No
it
way.
was North Sea Jazz Festival in Caraco.
Oh, North Sea.
Oh, right.
Let's ask Mark, how are your hands? How your hands doing? All right? Nice and clean? You clean your hands nice?
Hey, brother Mark.
Have nice hands.
Hey, Mark Miller.
Marky, we love you, buddy.
I do. I have a lot of fun with that cat.
He's
That's a great picture.
Wow.
Yeah,
Don't ever wear
there
on screen.
Don't ever wear shorts to a sound check.
You got shorts on there, Johnny?
We all do, actually.
You got in trouble after
Pictures
that.
of us at the Hollywood Bowl. Us four were at the Hollywood Bowl. I remember pictures.
Yeah.
We took pictures of us.
Yeah.
Was that the infamous golf story too?
I don't know the golf
Did we
story.
sound check and then you and Cece went and played like 18 holes and they came
Oh,
back?
yes. And we couldn't get back, and there was no, we were far away. We couldn't get any taxis. Nobody could take us. CC is the musical director, too.
Bass player, yeah.
So we
You guys
basically made it. We
You
ran
ran
through
up the hill at the
crowd,
Hollywood Bowl with your clubs on your back.
through the crowd and everything. We're like, we're in the band. We had our laminates. We took them out of our golf clubs. Oh, Lord.
Oh, my God.
There was some funny ones. You guys showing up in your you still had your cleats on or whatever you call those shoes, you know, like to the sound check.
We have to have a wardrobe check.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wardrobe check.
Oh, my little fuse.
I forgot about that.
How's that?
Ozzie, you look like you. Is there a wardrobe check?
What were you wearing last night?
You look like you. She goes, "What were you wearing last night?" You look like you were wearing jeans and a t-shirt. What were you wearing? You go,
Jeans and a t-shirt.
More expensive jeans.
it's your fault because now we have to wear suits and ties.
Oh.
It's all your fault.
That was one of the greatest.
Jeans and a t-shirt.
Ozzie, you look like you were wearing jeans and a t-shirt. What were you wearing? Jeans and a t-shirt. They're expensive jeans.
My God.
Oh.
But bro, I think that afternoon you like after the sound check you were wearing the jeans. and you were still wearing your show shoes, and you and Cece were like standing in a mud puddle casting lines, trying to catch fish.
Cece is an avid fisherman, so he actually, in his bass case, he had a little pocket built. I'm not even kidding. In his bass case, he had a pocket built for a pocket fishing pole, like that comes apart, and he had hooks, and he had weights, and all kinds of stuff, and he loved to fish. Yep. And so there was, sometimes we would play these outdoor, sheds. That's an outdoor theater for all you. Then we play the sheds, and there would be like a lake, and he'd go, "Come on, let's go fishing." I'm like, "All right."
Different than the shed that you practice in, though. Different kind of shed.
Different than the woodshed.
He doesn't bring that case anymore.
Because we can take this left really quick.
Honestly, we got a lot of people just commenting on the stories that you guys are telling. We did.
Thanks for the help.
Have a couple questions. We did have a couple questions that were quite a while back, but I want to make sure to pay attention to them. We had somebody asking if any of you guys were ever involved in DCI or any of the marching groups.
Nope.
High school.
When I was a kid, there was a drum and bugle corps, called the Huntington Thunderers, and I was a sax player. It was all brass. But in 7th grade, I switched to trumpet, and I played sax and trumpet. I was like 4th cornet, so I didn't move up the ranks. I think I moved up to 3rd cornet by the time I quit. But they became the Long Island Patriots, and we won the national championship in Notre Dame in 1976, actually, for drum and baton corps. It was pretty cool. But after that,
don't lie. You had the baton.
I looked good in those. I looked good in those tights.
that and the triangle. You play triangle with a clip.
I have a special accoutrement.
Accoutrement clip.
It's an accoutrement clip.
I have to talk about my high school marching band, because if there's anybody out there, they'll kill me if I don't mention it. We had the Lindenhurst Bulldogs. Our music director was Murray Kahn, who was so into drawing up all the schemes and doing all that stuff, and he taught us how to really march. And we always did the Newsday festivals. Columbus Day parade, the Thanksgiving Day parade. We took first a lot of times, and so I want to thank him, because marching band is a big part of my sound. Because when you have to play outside, you have to direct your sound up into the bleachers. And so you have to play your instrument with a lot of sound. And so that was the reason why I decided to. That was a big part of developing your lungs as a horn player, as a brass player. And so not so much for saxes, because like you said, you guys were, there were saxes and clarinets in there, but you really couldn't hear them. It was more trumpet, bone, tubas, that kind of thing. And man, that really developed my lungs playing outside. And that's why
you're shouting.
To this day, I still play on plastic mouthpieces, because it's always warm outside. Everybody's metal mouthpiece would be stuck to their lip in the winter when we're playing football games. I'd be like,
wow, that's why you're playing plastic. That makes sense.
That's another good reason.
You must have ruined it for Long Island, because when I was in school in Long Island, the marching bands were horrible.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, like we play 2 games, like the homecoming game and then like whatever else.
But ask Vinny, West Babylon High School had a really good marching band as well.
Really?
And that's Sandy, actually. They were both in the Eagles. That's why they always do this. Eagles, whenever they see each other, I want to punch them. To this day, they see each other, Sandy and Vinny. Eagles. Like Bulldogs, Eagles.
Punch them in the throat. I will give a shout out, though, my father-in-law, who's not doing well right now, Kenny Ace Peterson. He's Buglers Hall of Fame and DCI and all those buglers and a whole bunch of marching band things. He was not just a trumpet player, but he was a teacher and taught for 30 years throughout the years. And Maynard Ferguson inducted him into the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
which is like pretty cool. Al Chez was after him. We all know Al. Al was a wonderful trumpet player with Late Night with David Letterman, Paul Schaefer, and also Tower of Power and other gigs. But yes, but when I was in Long Island, there wasn't a scene like that. It kind of fell apart, I think, because of you two.
Very
you
possible.
guys throwing sandwiches in the stairway at Marianne Bennett gigs.
It took it.
It took it. He took it.
right. Might be getting late now if we're going.
There are
around.
no more bandwiches because of that. Because of that
Listen,
event.
there'll be no bandwiches anymore because of you guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
I blame Chris.
This was actually us four plus Vinny Cinquemani was the first iteration of the horn section that I put together for Marianne's band.
You got to talk about this in length. Listening.
Yes.
That was your idea, which was a great idea on paper.
But that's when we played good stuff back then.
Absolutely right.
I mean,
So Marianne Bennett's got a great entertainment company.
Wonderful.
She
Element Music.
Yeah. And
Wonderful girl.
She wanted some fire out of the horn section. She was kind of tired of what she was working with. And she called me, can you put together a horn section for my band? I said, well, yeah, I can do that. I know some people. I know a few guys. So my idea was to put a 5-piece horn section together, right? And you 3 guys plus Vinny were my guys. And that was the first iteration of the horn section. And as it turns out, sometimes with gigs like this, there are a lot of people there, and there are financial considerations. How many singers are we going to have? How many rhythm section players? How many horn players? Sometimes there's stage size considerations, right? So having 5 horns on a gig is very rare. I just shot for the moon, right, and said, "This is the horn section," which it was, right? But that started the whole ball rolling.
Yep.
And that's when we used to play those great charts, the Sinatra charts and the medleys, and it was a lot of fun playing that stuff. Not that it's not fun now. I still play with Marianne.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Greg Johnson is a good friend of all of ours and a wonderful trumpet player. He was a Maynard Ferguson lead trumpet player for years. And
I'm going to see him next week. I'm going to play golf with him.
You got to Florida. So in Florida then.
I had dinner with him Friday night in Orlando.
Cool. I got to hook up with him. He's only 2 hours away. I still haven't seen him, but he's a wonderful trumpet player. But Chris, you were the impetus of that whole thing, which is really kind of funny because you put all 5 of us in a room. Like I said, Vinny was my first trumpet teacher, and I'll give some of the preface of Vinny's dad was my dad's good friend, and Vinny got his first trumpet from my father. My father gave Vinny his first trumpet.
Wow.
And my first instrument was drums. I wanted to be like Vinny's dad, Vinny Sr.
Wow.
And, drums didn't last for me, but my first trumpet teacher was Vinny. And so there's a lot of heritage there, just a lot of family thing there. And then bringing it into the Funk Philharmonic thing with Vinny and Ron. So I'm up in Long Island. I guess 6 months ago, I'm at my cousin's house, and I see this beautiful woman. She goes, "Hey, Carl, how you doing?" It's Ron Fox's wife, Gina.
Oh, that's my cousin.
Which is John's cousin. I haven't seen in probably 7-8 years. So it's just like blew my mind. And they have the similar. Their kids are in the same grade and go to school together. I'm like, so. But what I'm getting at is we're all friends and it's family, and it's pretty amazing. But the Marianne thing was special because Chris, you put it together, and it was cast of characters. Man, we had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun.
Rainbow Room.
Oh,
Rainbow Room.
Rainbow Room.
Yes.
White jackets.
White jackets. I forgot about the white jackets. Yep.
I can't tell that story. Can I? No, I can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't. Rainbow Room, notorious for keeping it PG-13, for the band, and so we were wearing white dinner jackets as part of this production at the Rainbow Room, and the horn section, we sound better. We sound better when we have.
Well, that was the line. The line was, "It's in your best interest if we drink."
It's in your best
If we have a drink or two.
Great horn lines, and the band would turn around and go, "Yeah." That's because we were popping all night.
If we have a couple drinks, 1 to 2.
Popping means drinking.
So everybody at this event at the Rainbow Room is wearing black tie, black jacket, tuxedos, right? The entire band were wearing white jackets, right? there's no way I'm going to be able to get anything at the Rainbow Room wearing a white jacket. So I go back, I put my black jacket on, I go to the bar, 4 Jack and Cokes, please. And then I bring them back to the horn section and we have a round. And then I go back, I do the same thing, put my black jacket on, go back, 4 Jack and Cokes, please. I did this 4 times. And the 4th time I come back, no, it was before I went for the 4th time. I'm taking off my white jacket and putting on the black jacket, and Marianne is sitting there and she's like, why are you putting on your black jacket? I'm like, no reason.
More comfortable. It fits me better. I'm warmer with it on.
That was genius, though, bro.
16 Jack and Cokes from the Rainbow.
We're at a temple, and the first thing is there'll be no drinking on the gig. I turn around, and there's Scarpulla and Ozzie and Vinny walking across the dance floor with Jacks and Cokes coming to us.
We never
Like,
played a gig without drinking.
I'm like, okay, here we go. And we're hiding them, And that was the gig with the sandwiches. It took
Kids out there, it's very wrong of you to drink and play. Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't
Swordfish.
ever.
Yeah,
We have learned our lesson.
exactly.
Repent.
Hey, what did we used to do at the DR gig? The
Drink.
4 of us. No, before the very first tune, the curtain was down, and the overture pre-recorded was playing, and we used to do we used to make hand puppet things.
Because the light was behind us,
Yeah.
and the scrim, the kabuki,
Yeah.
and the light would shine through, and you could
He's a
make
curtain.
you could make like a little.
Curtain.
We used to make
He's a
animals,
white curtain.
we used to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we got smacked down on that one.
Yeah, we were
Yes,
making,
we
dinosaurs and snakes.
What do you think?
Snake
What
bite
the-
my eye!
Oh, I knew that was coming.
Oh my god!
Oh my God! Yeah, we got in trouble. We have fun. No, it's it's gigging is a drag.
Exactly.
I miss you guys.
I like a good laugh, that's for sure. Hey,
Man,
I just got well, it's kind of long. I just got an update from Don Harris's brother Bill.
Oh, good. What do we got? Give us the Cliff Notes version.
First of all, thank you for all your love and support. It really means a lot to both my brother and I. Please understand that I just don't have time to keep up with each of your replies to this email. I did read every response, blah, 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 blah. Some new names have been added. Suffice to say, Don's surgery yesterday went well, and now he's in recovery mode. When he called me last night to tell me his room number, he sounded awful. Of course, that's to be expected after nearly 8 hours of surgery today. I spent a few hours with him, and he's doing okay. No doubt about it. He's in pain. The team at the hospital seems to be doing a good job controlling the pain as best they can. He was beginning to doze when I left, but I know the plan was to get him up in a little while and have him walk. So he got operated on yesterday, and they've already got him up. He's hungry. He's on a liquid diet.
He wants his trumpet.
Yeah.
Well, he probably does. I mean, I kept telling him, remind them. You got to keep reminding them, bro. You're a trumpet player. Be careful of my chops. Don't cut any muscle. He's like, I'm going to tell them, whatever. But apparently he's doing good, and he's already in recovery mode, and they're going to have him up and walking tomorrow after like an 8-hour surgery. So that's great news.
Imagine. Oh my God.
No, I can't even imagine, bro.
Wow.
Can't even imagine. So
Oh, man.
Well, that's
kinda
good news.
Yeah, it's really good news.
It's great news. All right. Beautiful. Thanks, Bill. And Bill's a trooper, and Bill's an amazing saxophone player who also likes old cons like Chris does.
Yep.
He's a con head, just like I'm a con head. And we love you and miss you, Bill. And prayers to the family because you guys need it. And you guys are strong mofos. Mother flowers, as Ozzie says. Mother flower is a tough mother flower.
Mother flower.
What do you got, Steve? And then we'll...
Better than the alternative.
well,
Yeah.
we're believe it or not, we're coming up on 2.5 hours already.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
One more
so,
question.
So I got a couple last things that I want to hit. Really quick, you guys were just talking about sax players. Another friend of everybody here. Mike MacArthur is hanging out in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Mikey.
He says for Chris, I'm going to be in Rochester in early March. Would love to look you up. So we'll
you guys need to hook up. Mike has a wonderful store that has now been in Rochester called All Access CBD. And if you guys aren't hip to CBD, it's not like you're not getting high off of it. It's a very cool thing, especially if you have elderly parents or a dog or myself. It helps out.
Same thing.
Yeah, I'm an old dog. But yeah, so he has actually in Rochester, Chris, All Access CBD. He has a whole bunch of stores here in Florida. But he's a great tenor player. I just played in his new recording, and he has a wonderful studio. You guys need to hook up. I'm sure you guys met with Trevor back in the day a few times, I think. So
yeah, definitely be into it. Reach out, Mike. Reach out via Facebook or whenever you're in town. Love to hook up.
Nice.
Awesome. One of the questions we had, Carl, that I want to make sure we hit is had a few people actually asking if you could talk about Organic Groove. And
ooh, I was just thinking of that.
Yeah, and what it was like having the ability to bring these guys into that fold.
Oh, it was great, man. Organic Groove was started in 2000. We started in 2000, recorded a record in 2001, and the first record was just a quintet with John and Ron Swansea playing B3, drums and guitar. The second record we did was at Bennett Studios in 2010, or 2009, released in 2010, and we had Ozzie join us for 3 or 4 tunes. Ozzie blew some great solos and some section things. The record did pretty well. Very, very happy with the music that was represented in the playing. The players that represented us was just Jay Azzolino on guitar. I wish I could have a bigger horn section. At that time, I couldn't afford Chris because Chris, look at Chris. He has a nice haircut. His goatee is really clean. I couldn't afford Chris. But now I heard he plays for free.
It was before you knew.
yeah. No, but no kidding aside, you always want to be surrounded by friends, and you always try to get. Oh, there's a picture right there. You always try to get your friends involved because it's a wonderful thing. And I'll fast forward it to, I did have Chris involved. He played tenor. He played tenor a few times. We had a band in Queens called the Nouveau Big Band. And Chris came out for that with Ozzie and John. And it was a small big band playing a lot of Maynard arrangements and some Jaco Pastorius stuff. And Chris came out and killed that. And so did John and Ozzie. So it's just about reciprocation of trying to play with your friends, trying to make music with your friends. Sal Giorgiani, who's on here. You always want to be Frank Green, Raul Graz, Brad Mason,
Bobby O'Donnell, Franceschini.
Yep.
Yeah, Franceschini, Phil Palumbi, Marco Marcinko.
All right.
We were.
That was a fun gig,
right? We had a lot of great times, man. I miss playing with you guys. I really do.
Bro, Ernie Hammis.
Ernie Hammis came in from Europe. He was in town for a week and came and played with us. Ernie Hammis, or I call him Hams. I don't know what the right pronunciation is. I don't know what Hammes. What do you think it is, Stephen? How do you pronounce it?
I think it's Hammis.
Hammis? Yeah. Hummus Among Us?
That's at least how it was pronounced on the Maynard gig.
All right. Well, Hummus. Very good, John. You're a smart guy.
I'm a smart fella.
Smart fella. He's a nice fella. Yeah, so, you just want to surround yourself with guys that you have like-minded musicality and like-minded friendships. So, very fortunate. And thank you guys for hanging out with us for 2.5 hours because, this is our 62nd episode. I've been wanting to put all 3.
62nd? I had to wait for 62 episodes to be on with you.
You almost made 49, but you got busy, Ozzie. You were a busy guy. I can do this date. I can do this date. No, it's all good. You know what it was? We were going to stop this like around Stephen, 40? We were going to stop this. And then we just kept on brainstorming and trying to come up with friends again. John was on, in the 20s, I think. And Chris, I want Chris on because Chris has also, here's a question for Chris. We've been music heavy and Chris is a great musician. As a musician, everybody, and John and Ozzie will tell you this too, everybody has their own little other things that they're interested in. I'm a boat guy. I'm a fishing guy. John has many interests. Ozzie has many interests. Talk to me about your interest in, psychotherapy and your gig, because I know it's not an easy endeavor. I mean, you had to go study and spend a lot of time. And so how'd that come about, man, if you don't mind me talking about that? Because that's amazing.
Sure. So I've always had an interest in psychology and how the human mind works and how relationships work for decades. Okay. And when I got into playing music, when I was 15, I didn't even know you could do it for a living. It was my high school band director, and we would listen to records all day, every day. And I was having fun playing. And he's the one who said, oh, these guys make money doing this. And I'm like, really? And that's when I started shedding more. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to get good enough that someone's going to want to pay me a paycheck doing this.
Yes.
Really?
So time is marching on, right? And I catch a lot of nice, lucky breaks. And the way my mind works, I had this fantasy in my mind, right? That if I could get good enough and get the chops, and I'm a relatively nice guy, easy to work with, and build up a little resume, get some experience, go to where the work is. Once I get enough of that together, I should be good to go. And this is this fantasy that I constructed in my mind, right? And the problem is that I didn't have any musical mentors that educated me about the business of music. I had nobody letting me know, like, save your ducats, or you got to do some networking, or there are going to be times where you have no gigs, right? So I had no idea what was coming, right? I thought as soon as I get enough chops and get enough experience, things will start rolling, and I can, I'll be good.
Yeah.
And then reality came crashing in and blew my fantasy to smithereens, because I got to the point where I could play okay, and I'm a nice guy, and I was doing some really great things, and I caught a lot of lucky breaks, and there would still be times where it'd be crickets. Like I'd look at my calendar going, what the hell is going on here?
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where my fantasy crashed into reality and said, okay, can I do this? Can I really withstand the anxiety of having to continually wonder where the next gig's coming from, where the next paycheck is coming from, how am I going to make my house payment, that kind of thing, right?
Sure.
And that was when I decided I needed something a little more predictable.
Okay.
That's basically how that happened. But it was this crisis. I was driving home from a gig. This is all I know. I don't know anything else. What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what is it that I'm passionate about? What do I have an interest in? What could I potentially make a career out of that's not music?
Okay.
And that's when I thought, okay, well, maybe I could be a therapist.
Wow.
That was my one idea. That was my one singular idea on my way home from a gig in the car. And then I started reaching out to 1 million people that I already knew were doing that. And I said, is this even a viable option for me? This is how old I am. I have to go back to school. I have to get a degree, advanced degrees, internships, credentials, licenses, and all of that thing. And the more people I spoke with, the more confidence I gained in the idea that I could really do this. Wow. And I said, okay. And I said, okay, I'm doing this. And so I had to go back and get a different bachelor's degree. I had to go and get a master's degree, did some internships. And this whole time, as I'm doing this, I'm still touring. I was touring with DR. Yep. I was having to take time off from school to go out and do tours.
Make your money.
And get my professors to let me do the work from the road, which they were gracious about doing. And I managed to get through it. Got my master's degree, got my license, and
Remember when I told you that thing about like, let's say for example, I needed to go for therapy and I don't know you, and so somebody says, yeah, you got to go to Dr. Karlick, and I go see you, and there's a picture of you playing sax, you like on your desk, and we go through the therapy, and I go, you play sax? Yeah. And then all of a sudden one night you invite me to a gig, and can you imagine the look on somebody's face when your doctor plays like him?
Yeah, forget it.
Thinking, oh yeah, he wow, that's cute. He's got a picture with a sax, and he's a weekend warrior. I'll go check him out. Yeah. And all of a sudden and you're like, oh, it's got it like this. Will never happen to anybody else but you.
So there's a funny story.
Dr.
Right?
Dr. Dave, may he rest in peace. Remember, he was the dentist.
Yep. Dave Byers.
Dave Byers.
So here's a funny story, right? I'm already at the University of Rochester. I have my practice going, right? I'm working for the hospital, and the Department of Psychiatry schedules a fundraising concert. Right? They're getting all sorts of musical people from the department to put on a show at one of the local venues in order to raise money for the department so that they could have some more music and the music therapy type stuff, right? So they asked me, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll play. And I put something together. And the head of the entire Department of Psychiatry was there at the show. And he's musical too. He did a little bit, he sang and played a little bit with his wife, who's a great piano player. And I get up there, and it was a quartet gig. And I just did 2 tunes, 2 standards with the quartet. And I had a conversation with him a couple of days earlier. And he was like, what on planet Earth? Where did you come from?
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
It was hilarious. And, I'm just kind of flying under the radar. I don't broadcast that stuff. I have a different thing now, and I'm, professional and do the whole thing. But, every once in a while, the other stuff peaks out.
That's like Barry. He's, you go as a patient for Barry, and he does the acupuncture, and all of a sudden the next day you go to Madison Square Garden, you see, that trumpet player is my acupuncturist. He's the Bruce Springsteen. What the heck?
I have to go see him, bro. When Barry
said, talking about Barry Danielian, who's
Barry sent out his whole after he got all of his accreditation for for what he does now, and he sent out a little invite for anybody who might want to go see him. And recently I talked to him. I was talking to him about Don. I'm like, bro, I need to come and see you. Like, he's like, just call me, set up an appointment. Like, I really do need to. I know he's going to break me.
I need to see Barry in the worst way.
Man, he's been helping me for many. When we used to be on tour in the '90s with Emmanuel,
he used to open your back up, right?
He's already helped from back then. Now he's got all the degrees and he's got all that stuff. And I remember doing something. I was on Broadway with him. I forgot it was for Cher, and in between shows, my back was killing me, and he happened to have his acupuncture kit with him, and he said, "Let me do it." And I'm not afraid of needles. I'm afraid of the electricity. I have a phobia about electric, and I've always heard that.
That's good to know.
I was always told that acupuncture, right? It's like some electric stuff that can happen, blah, blah, blah. And I said, man, don't. He goes, Oz, trust me. Just, let me do it to you. I'm like, I don't know. And he actually stuck me, and it was like 15 minutes worth. And I felt better for the rest of the show. He definitely knows what he's doing. And he was always pinching like different muscles, no, this will help you if I get you here. And I'm like, oh, wow. This part, like he touches something here and down here. It feels better. He was great. So if anybody out there, Barry Danielian, look him up. He's another one. Like Chris. You guys have done great stuff, man.
Man, Steve Gutman, right? You guys remember Steve Gutman?
BS&T. Yeah.
He's a therapist now.
Really? Wow. Well, I mean, if you're with that many years with blood, sweat, and tears, you have to come out a therapist.
Oh, you mean he's in therapy?
Either you're in therapy or you're a therapist after blood, sweat, and tears.
Unlimited supply of customers.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't know Gutman was doing that. That's awesome. Really? Is he by you? He's upstate too?
Oh, I heard it from maybe Craig Johnson or somebody else who was on the band when Gutman was on the band, that he kind of bailed from that and he went back to school and got a therapy license. Yeah.
So I got to ask
one of the guys who I reached out to great bass player in Cleveland, Gary April, did the same thing. He went back to school. He got a master's degree in social work, got a license, and opened up a therapy practice in Cleveland. So that's kind of how I knew it was possible.
Cool.
And, you know, even at my age, like my life experience was an asset. My age wasn't a liability. It was an asset. So,
Sure.
so, you know, it was tough. I mean, you know, I had to get student loans and bust my ass and go back to college, but it was all good, you know.
Beautiful.
So
Good for you.
Marco Marcinko says, I remember Chris giving me a therapy session on an A flat 7 sharp 9 B13 voicing. I was a mess for weeks.
The B13 will get you every time, Marco.
The A7, not so much.
Yeah. No, but on a serious note, that's hysterical, Marco. But on a serious note, it's the same thing in music as it is in any other relationships and professional. It's the people that the people that you keep close to you. You reached out to people. The guy in Ohio that had to practice. It's your support team. It's your friends, right? I mean, that gave you the confidence. Like, I mean, if he's doing it, I might be able to do this. So at least you weren't feeling like you were going to fall on your face, and that's very important for a lot of people, especially, you know, between their 50s and 60s, because this pandemic is not a pretty thing. I mean, we're very fortunate that we, you know, all 5 of us are thriving and doing well, but I know a lot of people, man, it's been a rough, it's not an easy go of it right now for a lot of people. You know this better than anybody, Chris, right?
You know, one of the first things that I thought of when this was all going down, I was seeing people either blast Facebook up or whatever up. I guess I'm on a flight home. My tour's done. My tour's done. My tour's done. And I thought, holy hell. These are all my friends. These are people, you know, that it's done.
Yeah.
No gigs.
No gigs.
And part of how I struggled and why I switched is because I finally learned, you know, once my fantasy bubble popped, you know, no gigs, no money, no gigs, no money, no gigs, no money. I mean, that's the thing, right? No. You take every call that comes in for the days where no calls come in, the freelancer's mentality.
Yeah.
And so pandemic hits and all my pals all of a sudden, through no fault of their own, they don't have an income.
Yep.
And
wow.
I didn't even know what to say to everybody.
Yeah.
You timed it well, bro.
Well, I tell you what also, and I'm not downplaying it, you know, a lot of bad shit happened during COVID for a lot of people. You know, I pray for them. But a lot of good stuff happened for people too. If you didn't let it hurt you, like I went in there, and I think I might have even told John this at the very beginning. Maybe it might have been the second or third month we were talking on the phone, and I had said, "Man, you got to make sure that you come out of this thing better than when you went in."
Right.
So if you just sat around doing nothing, well, you know, sorry. I mean, I finally wrote a book. You know, I'm an author.
Yeah.
I wrote a book. We put together the Tempo Band. I know a lot of people who did some amazing things during that time. And so I hope a lot of people also did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And people got really creative about ways to monetize their talent, right? They were doing online lessons, they were doing Patreon, whatever they needed to do to create revenue, you know, which was great, you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring my friends together. 62 episodes later, we're all together. I hope there's another 62.
Mike had one of these too, right, Carly? Didn't Mike have Del Judas? Didn't he have one of these?
Mike still has. He had, but his is more of a performance thing, which is amazing. It's called Live on the Porch, which is amazing. He does a lot. He has an after show hang, but he does a lot of performance. My whole thing was trying to bring in just people who I dig hanging with, you know, and I want to learn about, or people who I love being with, whether it be in music or fishing guys. But, you know, we've been very fortunate because there's been a couple donations to help pay the servers, but that's not what it's about. The servers are minuscule when it comes down to we're hanging. You know, I mean, it's a different time. We all know it's a different time, and we hope, and we all see now that people are taking their masks off, and it's a safer time. But it's I can't stress this enough. It's about relationships, and John Scarpulla with one tooth with that ugly ass mask.
We end like we started.
Exactly. That being said, Stephen, let's close up the chat. Is there anything you need to close up with on the fish heads? And then we'll finish it off. What do you think?
No, I think we're good. You know, everybody's just kind of hanging out and listening still. But I think we hit all the major questions. If I did miss anything, I'm sorry, guys. But we're getting closer to 3 hours now, and we all turn back into a pumpkin soon. So, so I'll say thank you to everybody in the chat for hanging out and putting your comments and questions in. Also for many people, I noticed the names in here have been with us for all 62 episodes. So thank you guys for continuing to come back and for the great comments and stuff. We get emails when stuff doesn't come out soon enough, like, hey, who's on this week? Come on, let's go. So it's really, really great. Thank you guys for doing that. Also, thank you to you guys for joining us. I know this is a powerhouse trio joining us tonight. So thank you guys for being willing to share, you know, like what Carl was saying, you know, the idea of this was to just have a hang with friends, but it was also to kind of give people the backstage view of what an after gig bar hang would be like if they pulled up a chair.
Trouble.
You know? Yeah. And you got a vocabulary lesson to boot. So,
yeah.
You know, there were a couple of words that when Chris was talking, he said ducats, and I was waiting for Ozzie to turn and
Ducats means money.
Yeah. But thank you guys for being willing to spend the time and share the experience with everybody. And yeah, man, I'll turn it back over to you, Carl. I know you usually have a final question for everybody. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Stephen. No. We all appreciate you. We've all hung with you, Ozzie and Chris and John. We all hung with you many times. And for the people who are coming on the chat and the YouTube afterwards, Stephen is the one that keeps everybody happening and together. So we all thank you, Stephen, for having a gremlin-free hang.
Yeah, man.
And so we appreciate you taking care of it and taking care of us. Thank you, brother. You're a gentleman and a scholar, even though I don't know if you went to school or not. I have no freaking idea.
That's where you met me, was at school.
I did, yeah. I did.
Kindergarten.
Moten Swing.
Moten Swing, yeah. Came in and took my solo.
I did. That's how I am.
But really quick, guys, make sure, just a little housekeeping, make sure you guys stay on until I give you the all clear, if you wouldn't mind. But
cool, no problem.
That's it. All right, Carl, it's all you.
Yeah, no, so we appreciate you guys hanging with us, and so we're going to take next week off because, having these three freaking monsters on was daunting, and I had Chainsaw on last week, so we're going to come back in the next couple of weeks with a new lineup. We appreciate everybody hanging out, and you guys can go back on YouTube and see all these episodes. It'll be 62 episodes now, so check that out. And I always ask the same question for 62 episodes now. I'll start out with the first guy I brought in, Ozzie. First of all, between John, Ozzie, and Chris, I got to tell you guys, this is a long time coming. I missed you motherfuckers. Excuse my language.
Say it.
I miss playing with you guys. I miss hanging with you guys. I laughed my ass off tonight. Thank you. I needed this. I hope we all needed this.
Feeling is mutual, bro.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully we get to break bread and play some music together soon and be healthy and happy. And Sandy Rhodes and Don Harris get happy and healthy also. So,
yep.
Thank you. And Ozzie, I'm going to pose this question to all you guys. Ozzie, what are you looking forward to in the future, my man?
I guess more of the same. Things are really opening up. I'm going to continue practicing. I think I've gotten a little better because of the pandemic. I had to practice
a little bit.
a little better. Things are opening up. I'm doing a lot of stuff with Mark. I did some stuff with Danny Seraphine,
Yeah.
talking about doing the Chicago stuff. I got to play with them, and then a day later play some shows with BS&T.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my DNA. I just love doing that. I just love it. I love playing on people's music. If they send it to me, I have my studio here. I love doing that. Taking care of my parents, staying healthy. My kids are super healthy. So
Beautiful.
I'm going to continue on that plane. I want to thank anybody that came on because I was on. I want to thank those people. And I want to also say that it just goes to show you when you have great friends, time flies. I mean, I can't believe it's been 3 hours and we can keep going because, as we keep talking, more memories start to pop up. So I found myself having to not say some things because, you know what I mean? Because it's just so much, and we would be here for another 12 hours. So thank you, Carl, for having me on, and us, of course. I miss all you guys. I love you guys, and that's it.
Thanks, Oz. There'll be an after party after we go to the bathroom and have and pour ourselves our first drink.
Our third drink. I mean, our first.
17th drink.
But
Ozzie, I mean, you don't need to practice at all. You just your sound, bro. Your sound and your vibe is just it intoxicating.
Thank you.
And what you do is noticed not just by me, but by millions of people across the world. And thank you, brother. It means a lot. Means a lot that we finally got to hook up.
Yes.
With the A-team.
Yes. And I was in Sarasota for a little while. We couldn't hook up when I was there either.
I know. I'm only an hour away, but thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So John, I was telling Andy Sashan, our bass player, and Tommy Burns, why my back and my legs are so messed up because I would be drinking with you till like 12:30, and our Long Island Railroad was 12:42, and we'd run as fast as we could and fall down the stairs, down the subway. But we have to see Barry about acupuncture. We had a lot of great times. We played music together and had a wonderful time, and we still do. And your family is beautiful, and I love you guys. And
thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. What are you looking forward to in the future, my friend?
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about your back too, bro, because this is how many years after we did that show, and I can't. How many times did I run to the subway with like 3 saxophones,
baritone, tenor, and
I don't know what we were thinking. We were young and we weren't as smart. I have a hand truck now, so I'm looking forward to using my hand truck more frequently.
That's the best answer in 62 episodes. Hand truck.
Bungee cords and hand truck, like what Ozzie said, man, there was a lot of introspection during COVID. In the beginning, it's going to be short and we're all going to get back to work and everything's going to be fine in 2 weeks or 2 months. And then it's like, then it hit. It's like, I was, practicing my clarinet, practicing my flute, I had all my instruments out, giving my kids lessons, really spending a lot of time with the family. And like Ozzie said, I spent time working on things that I probably had neglected for a long time. So in a lot of ways, there was some things that I feel like I really got better at, which was kind of a cool thing. It forced me to I don't have a studio, but I do have a studio. I have my laptop, I have my interface. I bought a great microphone. I updated a couple of things here at the house. I did 18 sessions here at the house during the pandemic. Awesome. And some of them I actually got paid for, which is, so I'm just looking forward to the one thing that I thrive on the most is diversified, like a diversity of gigs. Where I get to go do different stuff that challenges me.
Yep.
And so far, I feel like I'm getting into that groove again. Like now that things are kind of turning around, I'm getting more calls for more diverse things. So I'm looking forward to, making more music. Definitely spending more time with my kids, which is something that I feel in all of these years, it's like we're on the road. Ozzie, like your kids are grown now, but how much, you're away for so much of that time that you miss so many of these moments. I spent a lot more time with my kids, and like they both play alto sax and they both play piano and they're both great. And it's part of it is DNA. part of it is listening to music. And then I feel like, an integral part of it is me actually getting to spend some time with them and maybe trying to impart some of my wisdom upon them, and send them not down the path to become musicians necessarily, but to become more well-rounded kids with an appreciation of music and an appreciation of what it takes to become good at something, whether it be music or something else. So, I guess those are the things I'm looking forward to. I have this beautiful wife and a beautiful house, and it would be nice to get some gigs that actually pay a little bit of money so I can pay my mortgage, but it's not always the priority, as silly as that may sound. I'm loving life, and thankfully I got some killing friends, and I miss you, Chris Karlic. I miss you, Ozzie Melendez. I miss you. What's your name again? Oh, Carl. I miss all you cats and look forward to playing with you all again. So
beautiful, awesome. So you're talking about family. Ozzie has Michaela and Marcus, and John Carlo and Luca on John's side, and I'm gonna bump it to Chris Karlic. Chris is. I'm glad you're a therapist, because you let me watch Katie in Brooklyn and Christopher, your kids, wonderful kids, and we had a great time in Brooklyn, and they've grown up to be wonderful, wonderful people. And bro, we haven't, as a collective, we haven't seen you in so long, and I can speak for all of us. We're so proud of you, bro. Everything you do, whether your horn's hanging out of your mouth, or if you're
that's a fact,
right?
Total proud.
It's scary, bro. So, dude, we miss you, and we want to play music with you, or at least break bread with you, or do both. What are you looking forward to in the future, my man?
Well, before I address that, I just want to say how grateful I am for you reaching out, Carl, and for putting this together, because just by the nature of this shift that I did career-wise and me moving to Rochester, I kind of felt like, where did my people go? And I knew you guys were out there, and there was a career shift and a distance, but that doesn't mean I've ever forgotten the connection and what we've had together and what we still have together. And tonight was a reminder that I needed, that you guys are part of my life.
Nice.
A huge part of my life. And I'm glad you're still a part of it. I really am.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Part of what this career shift did for me was remind me of why I played music to begin with. And so that's what I'm going to focus on in the future, getting back to the joy of playing music, because now the other stuff, the need for me to rely on it to make the house payment or put food on the table is no longer there.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I know you guys do. And I appreciate the fortitude and the stick-to-itiveness that it takes to stay in this business, which is a mother flower, to use that. It is. It doesn't matter. You could be the greatest, player on planet Earth, and there's no way to control the outside forces of the business and navigate that. It takes other skills, right? Which I really didn't have that many of, right? So I'm looking forward to getting back to the joy of playing music. And actually, Rochester is a great place to do that, because Eastman is here, and there are a lot of great local cats.
Yeah,
sure.
So I'm going to do that. And I got this little studio in my basement that I built. So, I got all my charts out. I got sextet charts and quintet charts. I've already called some cats. So as soon as things cool off a little bit COVID wise, I'm going to get them over to the rehearsal studio, and we're just going to play for the sake of playing.
Yeah.
And family wise, Kate's getting married in.
Oh my God.
Kate's getting married in October of this year.
Nice.
Wow.
She met a great guy. His name is Caleb. They've been together 5 years or so, and I love him. He's the greatest. They're great for each other.
All right.
And Christopher's married already. He
Yeah.
found, he's been married for 7 years.
Wow.
Wow. So yeah. So the kids are married and they're adulting and they're doing that whole thing. So I'm really proud of them. Man, Christopher, what a trooper he was. He was working for this company for 5 years doing data analysis, and then got laid off when COVID came because the company did mass layoffs.
Wow.
And man, he was not having it. He just kept on applying and applying and applying, and he found another gig, took a little bit of a pay cut, but he
He did
said,
job.
and he crushed that gig, even though it was not the exact right fit for him, and he stuck it out. Now he's working for the state of Oklahoma. He lives in Oklahoma with his wife, so we got a cushy gig now working for the state. So I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of Kate, and so going to try to spend as much time with them as I can, even though they live states and states away. So
Beautiful.
that's what I got going on.
Cool, brother.
Awesome.
Very
Chris.
nice, Chris.
We love it, man.
Karlick. By the
Yes,
way, don't let him fool you like he hasn't been playing and he wants to get back to playing, because I actually got him on a session and I wrote some. He was the only guy that could have played it. I think I might have asked. No, I forgot now. All right, let me back up a little bit. But remember that part that I had you play, Karlick?
Yeah.
You need a therapy after that. So what I'm trying to say is he still has his chops.
Oh, I know. He
So don't let him fool you like,
didn't lose them. He
No.
didn't lose them. They're still there.
And chops means the ability to play your instrument.
Chops. Hassan chop. I give you the Hassan chop. Yeah, no. This was a special night, guys. It's always fun to hang out with you guys, and I will say thanks to everybody that logged on, and Ozzie, Chris, and John are very special in my heart, and Stephen, thank you so much for bringing us together, and you're part of us also. Lee Finkelstein, Sandy Rhodes, and Don Harris, thank you guys. You guys get better. Lee's in good shape. Keep on being in good shape. And we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you for the fish heads. And be nice to each other and treat people the way you want to be treated. We'll see you next time in a few weeks. Peace out. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
Hang on.
Mr. Carl Fischer.